Chapter 3662. Passage, Magma Passage. After repeating this several times, they finally saw a wall, a fiery red wall. However, there was a crack in the wall. They flew along the crack for a while before finally arriving at a spacious area. It was like an underground cave, but there was a circular pit in the middle. The pit was filled with a fiery red liquid. It looked like a pond with a diameter of about 100 meters. A scorching aura was constantly emitted from the pond. This aura... Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He discovered that the aura in the pond was very similar to the aura that appeared after killing the giant fish, but it was many times denser. The liquid under the pond was left behind when the dragon race's expert refined that strand of chi. As far as I know, he refined it for a full stellar year. So the aura in this pond is very similar to that strand of chi. As long as we absorb that aura in this pond, it will definitely be many times faster than hunting the giant fish outside. Ao Yen explained. There's actually such a place? Ha ha ha, good, then our success rate will definitely be very high. Ao Guan laughed, revealing an excited expression. However, we still have to be careful. The temperature of the liquid in the pond is very shocking. It's very painful and testing. If you can't bear it, you can come out first to adjust before entering. Ao Yen warned. Haha, got it. Ao Guan smiled. Then, he took a step forward and landed in the pond. His entire body sank into the liquid and he disappeared. Then, the other dragon race geniuses jumped into the pond one by one. Ao Yen nodded to Lu Ming and also jumped into the pond. Lu Ming followed closely behind. Lu Ming jumped like a pond and kept sinking, causing the red liquid to engulf his entire body. In the next moment, Lu Ming felt an incomparably scorching aura enter his body through his pores and then spread to his limbs, organs, and soul. It was as if all the cells in his body had fused into one. An incomparable stabbing pain spread throughout his body. Even Lu Ming let out a muffled groan. Pain, it was really painful. His body and soul felt like they were being constantly torn apart by countless sharp blades. It was too painful. If it was an ordinary person, they would have already let out a mournful scream, but Lu Ming forcibly held it in. This little bit of pain is nothing. No matter how much pain he is in, I won't move. Lu Ming muttered in his heart as he continued to descend. This pond was very deep. It was at least 1,000 meters deep. Lu Ming dove down a few hundred meters and then stood still, allowing the energy to enter his body. This was a process of fusion. This kind of energy had some of the characteristics of taboo energy. The more he fused with it, the stronger his resistance to taboo energy would be. At that time, the success rate of fusing with taboo energy would be higher. Time flies. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. While the fiery red liquid churned as a young man rushed out of the pond. He landed beside the pond and gasped for breath. His face was filled with exhaustion as if he had suffered a severe mental exhaustion. Indeed, enduring that kind of pain in the pond at all times was very taxing on one's mind. This young man was an 8-clawed divine dragon. He was the first person to come out of the pond. It really is too unbearable. The young man took a deep breath and then sat down cross-legged. He began to circulate his cultivation technique and adjust his breathing. Not long after that young man came out, another young man came out. After that, every once in a while, another young man would come out to adjust his breathing. After a full 3 days, the first young man had adjusted his condition to the peak. Then he clenched his teeth and charged back into the pond. Not long after, the other young men also charged into the pond. 7 days after Lu Ming and the others entered the pond, Ao Guan and Ao Qing charged out of the pond at the same time. He's cold. It's too painful. He can't endure it anymore. He needs to rest. Ao Guan shouted. He lay on the ground, not wanting to move. Ao Qing was in a similar state as Ao Guan. We've endured it for 7 days. I wonder how the others are doing, said Ao Qing. The princess will definitely be able to last longer than us. The others won't be able to last as long as us. But that Lu Ming is hard to say, said Ao Guan. Ao Qing nodded. They continued to recover while waiting. After another 2 days, a silver figure flashed. Ao Yen charged out of the pond, her face somewhat pale. She lasted 2 days longer than us. Ao Guan and Ao Qing both had looks of admiration on their faces. Even though they were all 9-clawed dragon, there were differences in talent. Ao Yan's talent was clearly stronger than theirs. They couldn't help but admire her. That Lu Ming still hasn't come out. Could it be that he can last longer than the princess? Ao Guan was doubtful. It can't be. Our dragon race has an advantage here. We can last longer here. How can he last longer than us? I reckon that he came out before us. After resting, he went back in. Ao Qing clearly didn't believe it. It's possible. Ao Guan nodded. Their recovery ability was very strong. After resting for 2 days, they continued to enter the pond. Ao Yan's recovery ability was even more shocking. She only rested for a day before entering the pond again. Just like that, everyone would return to the shore to rest and recover every once in a while. But Ao Guan, Ao Qing, and the others didn't encounter Lu Ming even once. They did encounter the others. They could only think that they and Lu Ming's resting time just happened to be different. That was why they didn't encounter him. But they didn't know that Lu Ming didn't come out at all. Lu Ming had been silently enduring under the pond. Under the pond, the greatest test was one's willpower and endurance. Endurance for pain. The dragon race's physique could reduce the pain in the pond. So Ao Guan and the others thought they had an advantage. However, Lu Ming's willpower was already so strong that it was shocking. Ever since Lu Yao had taken away his bloodline, he had experienced many things along the way. What kind of pain had he not experienced? His spirit was already tenacious, harder than steel. Pain on the body immovable. So Lu Ming had been enduring, and didn't go out to recover. This way, the aura of the taboo power he absorbed was naturally more than the others. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. During these 3 months, they had been absorbing this aura. Their cultivation base and battle strength hadn't made any progress. Their main purpose was to develop resistance to the taboo power. After 3 months of absorption, the aura of the taboo power in the pond was very faint. It was almost gone. They all rushed out of the pond. Chapter 3663. There's a slight change. Lu Ming carefully sensed his body. His cultivation base, divine power, secret techniques, and so on were all the same as before. There was no change. However, Lu Ming kept feeling that there was a slight change, but he couldn't put his finger on it. It should be related to the aura of the taboo power. All right, we're almost ready. Let's go and try it, Ao Yen said. Then, they returned to the magma lake and headed towards the place where the taboo power was. When they arrived at the place where the taboo power was, they discovered that many people had gathered around the red lotus. Someone was trying to fuse the taboo power. Ha! A prodigy stepped forward and kept approaching the red lotus. This youth was only a 3rd-level divine lord, but he was already within 100 meters of the red lotus. He was even closer than a 6th-level divine lord prodigy 3 months ago. This might be related to the absorption of that aura from hunting the giant fish during this period of time. His body had developed a resistance to it. However, when he was within 100 meters, the pressure on this youth obviously increased greatly. His speed slowed down a lot. However, he didn't turn into ashes like those youths who tried 3 months ago. A layer of red light appeared on his body, seemingly blocking the energy outside. Slowly, he finally got close and landed on the lotus. The youth's expression was solemn. He took a deep breath and reached out to grab the taboo power. However, when he grabbed the taboo power, his face revealed a look of horror. Then, his body exploded with a bang, turning into ashes and disappearing. Humph, these people want to fuse with it. They're overestimating themselves. Ao Yen sneered. Lu Ming and the others were very far away and didn't get close. That's the 13th one, someone whispered. 13 have already died. This is too dangerous. I'd better not try. Many people shook their heads. Although the position of heavenly son or heavenly daughter was tempting, they also needed to be alive. If they were dead, everything was meaningless. However, there were also people who were unwilling and wanted to try. After all, it was the heavenly palace's heavenly son or heavenly daughter. Once they became such a person, they wouldn't have to worry about cultivation resources in the future. Their cultivation would definitely skyrocket. Moreover, their status would also skyrocket. The emperor or heavenly lady of the heavenly palace, even if they went to the top 10 races, the almighties of those races would have to treat them with respect. They could simply run amok in the universe. Who wouldn't be tempted? "I'll do it!" Another young man stepped forward. His eyes were bloodshot. This was a monstrous level character, already having cultivation of 4th level Divine Lord realm. He gritted his teeth and stepped towards the red lotus flower. He was even faster than the previous young man. Soon, he approached the lotus and stepped onto it. The young man took a few deep breaths before a vicious look appeared on his face. He reached out and grabbed the forbidden power. This time, the young man didn't immediately turn into ashes. Instead, the wisp of forbidden energy wriggled out of the young man's palm and entered his body. Did it work? Many people's hearts were beating wildly, and some even revealed looks of jealousy. But in the next moment, the young man let out a shrill and despairing scream. "No!" the young man roared. Then, a layer of red light appeared on the surface of his body. Then, he followed in the footsteps of the previous young man. His body exploded and turned into ashes. That strand of taboo power reappeared. He died again. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. Not only was it difficult to fuse with this strand of energy, but it was also extremely dangerous. If one didn't succeed, only death would await them. Is there really no way to succeed? Perhaps they just don't have enough talent. Everyone discussed spiritedly. For a moment, no one dared to step forward. After a while, "I'll do it," a voice sounded. Then, a tall and burly figure stepped forward. "It's him! Jin Yen!" Everyone's hearts shook. Jin Yen, this peak monster, was about to make a move? Bang! Bang! Jin Yan's body shone with multicolored light as he approached the lotus. His speed was extremely fast, and he quickly arrived on top of the lotus. His eyes were grave. He didn't immediately attack. Instead, he waited until he was in his best state before attacking. He first took out a metal box, wanting to store the taboo power inside. But as soon as the taboo power entered the metal box, it immediately burned and turned to ashes. "Don't waste your energy. This strand of energy can only be absorbed. It can't store anything else. Someone already tried before," someone said. Jin Yan's expression changed. In the end, he gritted his teeth and grabbed the taboo power in his hand. After grabbing it, the taboo power directly entered Jin Yan's palm. Will it work? Everyone felt their hearts beat faster. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, a full 30 seconds passed, but Jin Yan was still fine. Will it work? However, right at that moment, Jin Yan roared. Divine power erupted from his body as he rapidly retreated. As he retreated, the taboo power seemed to have been forced out of his body. Then, Jin Yan retreated tens of thousands of meters, vomiting blood. His body was tattered, and his aura was extremely weak. He had obviously been seriously injured. But he didn't die. He was the first genius who had survived after fusing with the taboo power. Damn it! Jin Yan roared, extremely unwilling. But in the end, he gritted his teeth and turned to leave. Now that he was seriously injured, and he had many enemies here, it would be very dangerous for him to stay. Some of the Vajra race's geniuses protected Jin Yan and left. Lu Ming was a little tempted. He wanted to go down and get rid of Jin Yan, but after thinking about it, he suppressed the impulse in his heart. The taboo power was more important. Now that there was such a good opportunity to observe, he would do it first. Jin Yan's survival made many geniuses look forward to it. Especially those who were not weaker than Jin Yan. Since Jin Yan was not dead, they became much bolder. It was just an injury, so they could give it a try. Sure enough, in the next moment, a genius rushed up. Obviously, this genius had also entered more than 30 years ago, and was a genius on the same level as Jin Yen. Seeing that Jin Yen was not dead, he was confident that he was not weaker than Jin Yen, so he wanted to go up and give it a try. Soon, he arrived at the lotus and reached out to grab the taboo power. The taboo power rushed into his body from his palm. 1 second, 2 seconds, that sky pride only managed to hold on for 25 seconds before he bellowed out in rage and retreated, forcing out the taboo energy. This genius followed in Jin Yan's footsteps and was also seriously injured. Chapter 3664. That prodigy did not dare to stay any longer and quickly left. It was normal for many races to have enmity with each other. Who could guarantee that these races did not have their enemies here? After that prodigy left, someone else went up. At least, they would not die. Many top monsters became much bolder. Humph, these people want to fuse with the taboo power? What a fool's dream! Even if the top 10 monsters of the great desolate 10,000 races come, they won't succeed. But those who can successfully fuse with it are all peerless geniuses. They have great luck, peerless talent, and are born extraordinary. These people are far too lacking. In the sea of consciousness, Gu Mo sneered. Sure enough, more top monsters went up. Although these top-notch geniuses could survive, none of them could succeed. In fact, none of them could last more than a minute. The strongest one only lasted for 50 seconds before retreating with serious injuries. There was even one who lasted for more than 10 seconds. Although he retreated, he died on the spot because of his serious injuries. There were at least 20 top-notch monstrous geniuses who went up, but none of them succeeded. These monsters were all seriously injured and left to find a place to recuperate. Everyone looked at each other. It seemed that they would not succeed. Would they have to wait a few decades for more monsters to come in before they could succeed? Let's go, Ao Yen said. Now that the top monsters of the various races had been seriously injured, it was time for them to make a move. This was a good opportunity. If those top monsters were here, they would not be allowed to make a move so easily. Swoosh! Swoosh! They flew forward. When they got close, they were immediately discovered. It's the dragon race. The remnants of the dragon race have appeared. And that Lu Ming! When many people looked at them, their eyes were filled with a fiery light. The dragon race, Lu Ming. If they could capture either one, they would be heavily rewarded. If they could not fuse with that wisp of energy, they would not be able to become the son of heaven or daughter of heaven. However, if they could capture Lu Ming and the others, the rewards would be very tempting. Immediately, many people rushed towards Lu Ming and the others. Remnants of the dragon race, surrender! Many people roared and directly attacked. Dazzling divine light burst out. However, not many people attacked Lu Ming. Many people had seen Lu Ming's combat strength before. Only top geniuses could compete with him. However, they had no idea how powerful Ao Guan and the others were. Courting death! Ao Guan, Ao Qing, and the others roared angrily, reverting to their original forms and pouncing forward. The dragon claw stepped on the air, and a terrifying force exploded. Instantly, miserable screams rose and fell. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 young men were killed by Ao Guan and Ao Qing. Kill! At the same time, Lu Ming, Ao Yen, and the other 4 8-clawed divine dragons also attacked. As soon as they made their moves, the situation became even more one-sided. A terrifying power burst forth as the geniuses of the various races were killed one after another. Without those top-notch geniuses, ordinary geniuses would be completely at the mercy of Lu Ming and the others. In just a short while, more than 100 sky prides of various races were killed. The others were scared out of their wits and frantically retreated. 9-clawed dragon, it's the 9-clawed dragon. Quickly retreat! Those people shouted in horror. For a moment, no one dared to step forward to attack Lu Ming and the others. Some races wanted to set up a battle formation to surround and kill Lu Ming and the others. However, someone stopped them. These remnants of the dragon race seemed to want to fuse with that stream of energy. Then let them fuse with it. When they fail, they will definitely be severely injured. It won't be too late for us to attack then. That makes sense. The sky prides of various races discussed for a while before nodding and retreating, allowing Lu Ming and the others to approach the forbidden power. Lu Ming and the others were not afraid. With the few of them working together, and the top-notch geniuses of various races retreating, the remaining people's combat strength was far inferior to theirs. Even if they set up a battle formation, they could still easily retreat. Moreover, Ao Yan could summon the giant fish in the lava to attack. Although the sky prides of various races had hunted a large number of giant fish during this period of time, the lava lake was very vast and deep. There were many giant fish, and it was impossible to kill them all so easily. This was their confidence. You guys go first. Ao Yan first looked at the 4 8-clawed divine dragons. All right. The 4 8-clawed divine dragons nodded. Then, one of the 8-clawed divine dragons wriggled up and headed towards the forbidden power. When it reached the lotus, it stretched out a dragon claw and grabbed the forbidden power. The forbidden power rushed into the 8-clawed divine dragon's body. The 8-clawed divine dragon's body suddenly trembled violently, but it was blocked. 1 second, 2 seconds, soon, a minute passed. Yes, it had already been longer than the longest time the sky prides of various races had taken. It can't be. Could it be that the dragon race can fuse with it? Perhaps it's really possible. After all, this stream of energy belongs to the dragon race. The sky prides of various races felt their hearts sink. What should we do? Continue to observe the situation. Even if the dragon race fuses with it, they won't be able to escape. What the Heavenly Palace wants is not something they can get their hands on. Some of them secretly discussed. Soon 2 minutes passed. That 8-clawed divine dragon was still persevering. The longer they persevered, the greater the success rate. There were 2 reasons why the 8-clawed divine dragon could persevere for so long. The first was that they had absorbed too much of the aura related to the forbidden power in the pond and had developed a strong resistance. The second reason was that they were from the dragon race. Originally, the forbidden power did not have any attributes. However, after the dragon race obtained it and refined it for many years, it already had a trace of the dragon race's attributes. Therefore, the forbidden power would fluctuate and sometimes take the form of a dragon. This was advantageous to the dragon race. He definitely won't succeed, Guemo said with certainty. Sure enough, after 3 minutes, the 8-clawed divine dragon could no longer endure it. He roared and retreated, and the forbidden power flew out of his body. Pooh! The 8-clawed divine dragon coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. He was seriously injured. Heal your injuries first, Ao Yan said to the 8-clawed divine dragon. The 8-clawed divine dragon nodded, took out a few divine herbs, swallowed them, and began to heal his injuries. Next, another 8-clawed divine dragon went up to try, but he also failed. I won't go up. You guys go up. I won't go up either. The last 2 8-clawed divine dragons shook their heads. Their talent was similar to the previous 2 8-clawed divine dragons. They knew that it would be useless for them to go up. Moreover, the sky prides of various races were eyeing them covetously. It was better for them to preserve their full strength to deal with unexpected situations. Let me do it! Then Ao Guan stepped forward and came to the lotus. He grabbed the forbidden power with his dragon claws. The forbidden power entered Ao Guan's body and he began to fuse with it. Chapter 3665. The 9-clawed dragon's talent was unquestionable. It was a peak monster of the dragon race. It was much stronger than the 8-clawed divine dragon. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, soon, 10 minutes had passed. Ao Guan was still persevering. This made the expressions of the various races' geniuses turn ugly. Their talent was far from the 9-clawed dragons. This was the talent of the top 10 races' geniuses. If the top 10 races' geniuses were so terrifying, then what about the legendary Heavenly Palace's geniuses? What about the heavenly palace's heavenly sons and daughters? Just how monstrous were they? Time quickly passed as everyone's thoughts ran wild. 20 minutes, 21 minutes, half an hour had passed. Yes, Ao Guan had persevered for half an hour. But this was his limit. His body began to tremble, and layers of red light appeared on his body. There were even traces of blood seeping out. Roar! Ao Guan roared, extremely unwilling. He still hadn't given up. He clenched his teeth and persevered. But more and more blood seeped out of his body, and cracks even appeared on his body. Ao Guan, don't force yourself. Ao Yen transmitted her voice to Ao Guan. If this continued, Ao Guan would die. Roar! Ao Guan roared in the end and gave up. He retreated, and the taboo energy also flew out. Ao Guan returned to Lu Ming's side, took out a divine medicine, and swallowed it. It's too difficult. I feel like there's no hope of success. Ao Guan shook his head, extremely unwilling. Ao Qing, you go. Ao Yen looked at Ao Qing. However, Ao Qing shook his head. He glanced at the surroundings and said, Princess, you should go. His talent was about the same as Ao Guan's. If Ao Guan couldn't succeed, then he most likely wouldn't have a chance either. Moreover, Ao Guan was injured. He couldn't be injured again, or it would be very dangerous. It was better to give this chance to Ao Yen. Ao Yen was the most talented among them. If even Ao Yen couldn't succeed, then they wouldn't have any hope either. Okay. Ao Yen nodded and flew toward the taboo energy. Soon, the taboo energy entered her body. Time quickly passed. Ao Yan's talent was indeed above Ao Guan's. Half an hour quickly passed, and Ao Yen was still enduring. Moreover, she didn't seem to be feeling. The expressions of the various geniuses changed. Should we make a move now? There's a 9-clawed dragon among the dragon race that's injured. Their fighting strength has been greatly reduced. Someone secretly said. No, now is not the time. That silver 9-clawed dragon is too strong. She's not injured yet. If we attack now, she'll definitely give up on fusing with that strand of chi and attack us. Let's continue waiting. It won't be too late to make a move when she's injured. Someone said. Good idea. Everyone continued to wait. Soon, an hour had passed. Ao Yen had actually endured for an hour. This was an astonishing achievement. One had to know that the longest time for the other prodigies was only 50 seconds. The difference was simply too great. However, at this moment, Ao Yan's silver body also started to tremble. It was as if she was enduring an enormous pressure. Another minute passed. Ao Yen shouted as she quickly retreated outside. The taboo energy flew out from her body. Princess, why don't you continue to persevere? Ao Qing said. Ao Yen clearly hadn't reached her limit yet. No need. I can already feel that I won't succeed. There's no point in persisting. Ao Yen shook her head. At this moment, Ao Yen wasn't seriously injured. If she continued, she would also be seriously injured, which would be very disadvantageous for them. Most importantly, he could feel that even if she continued to persevere, she wouldn't succeed. There was no hope. Even the princess can't succeed? Ao Qing sighed. If even the princess can't succeed, then who else can? Princess Ao Yen was one of the top prodigies even during the dragon race's heyday. She was even ranked at the top. If even she couldn't succeed, who else could? She's not injured. The hearts of the prodigies sank when they saw that Ao Yen wasn't injured. Ao Yan's strength was too strong. Since she wasn't injured, they didn't dare to make a move. Some people secretly discussed and finally decided to wait for the top prodigies to recover from their injuries before making a move. Brother Lu, do you want to try? At this moment, Ao Yen looked at Lu Ming. Since I'm here, I naturally have to give it a try. Lu Ming nodded, then stepped forward and walked towards the taboo energy. When he arrived above the lotus, he looked at the taboo energy above the lotus. It would sometimes turn into a transparent gas, and sometimes into a small dragon. Come! Lu Ming was looking forward to it. It was so difficult to fuse with it that even Ao Yen had failed. He wanted to see it for himself. Lu Ming reached out and grasped the taboo power in his hand. Boom! Suddenly, the taboo energy burst out with a terrifying heat that covered Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. He circulated his divine power, and his muscles bulged, blocking this energy. If it was an ordinary person, they would probably be turned to ashes by this energy. Of course, this was just the beginning. When Lu Ming blocked this energy, the taboo energy twisted and entered Lu Ming's palm. Once it entered Lu Ming's palm, the taboo energy immediately scattered. 1 turned into 2, 2 turned into 4, 4 turned into 8. In an instant, it turned into countless tiny streams of energy that scattered throughout Lu Ming's body, entering every cell. Then, an incomparable pain erupted from Lu Ming's body. This pain was similar to when he fused with the taboo energy in the pond, but it was dozens of times stronger. Those with insufficient willpower would not be able to endure it. Divine power! Lu Ming barely managed to stay awake. He wanted to circulate his divine power to counteract this pain, but he discovered that he had already lost control of his divine power. His 11 divine powers seemed to be suppressed by a majestic power. They were firmly suppressed within the star core, unable to circulate. Even his origin secret techniques were unable to circulate. It could be said that nothing could circulate. The only thing Lu Ming could do now was persevere. Persevere! Lu Ming returned to his original state and persevered. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, very quickly, half an hour passed. Lu Ming was still persevering. He can actually persevere for half an hour! Ao Yen, Ao Cheng, and the others were shocked. Lu Ming was only a human, but he could persevere for half an hour. It had to be known that Ao Guan was a 9-clawed dragon, but he had only lasted half an hour. That kid! The various geniuses of the desolate universe were also tongue-tied. If it was said that the dragon race could persevere for so long, it would be reasonable. After all, the 9-clawed dragon's body was famous throughout the universe. Furthermore, this stream of energy also belonged to the dragon race. It was normal for a dragon to be able to persevere for so long. But Lu Ming was only a human. Chapter 3666. However, this was only the beginning of Lu Ming's shock. Half an hour was just the beginning. Then, time passed minute by minute. Soon, it was an hour. This was already equal to Ao Yan's record. This, Ao Yen, Ao Cheng, and the other prodigies were all dumbfounded. It was already a miracle that a human could last so long. However, the miracle continued. 1 hour, 1.5 hours, 2 hours, soon, Lu Ming had lasted for 3 hours. Damn it, this kid won't succeed, right? Impossible, he can't succeed. The prodigies of the various races were discussing, but most of them were envious and jealous. One had to know that once Lu Ming succeeded and joined the heavenly palace, he would be directly conferred the title of emperor. It would be strange if these people were not envious and jealous. They all prayed that Lu Ming would not succeed. Can he succeed? Ao Yen and the others also widened their eyes. Contrary to the prodigies of the various races, they hoped that Lu Ming would succeed. Lu Ming had previously sworn that once he succeeded, he would become an enemy of the heavenly palace. Although Lu Ming was not a member of the dragon race, it was still better than someone of the other races fusing. This was because Ao Yen had already failed. Almost no one from the dragon race could succeed. If this continued, the heavenly palace would take it away sooner or later. Because if this continued, in a few years, even stronger prodigies would come in from the outside. If this continued, who knew if anyone would be able to fuse? Therefore, they hoped that Lu Ming would fuse with them. However, after 3 hours, Lu Ming had also reached his limit. His body began to tremble, and blood seeped out of his skin. The continuous pain made his mind on the verge of collapse. Kid, hold on. If you have potential, you will burst out in a desperate situation. If not, I will help you retreat. Gu Mo transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded silently, and continued to grit his teeth and persevere. Wave after wave of pain was about to drown his mind. His will was like a taut string that was about to snap. Just as Lu Ming was about to give up, a powerful force suddenly burst out from the depths of his soul, from the depths of his mind. As soon as this power appeared, his spirit was shaken, and he immediately recovered. At the same time, every cell in his body seemed to be bursting with energy, causing his injured body to quickly recover. Haha, as expected, it's effective. I knew your potential wasn't limited to this. Bone laughed loudly. Senior Bone Devil, what happened just now? What kind of power was that? Lu Ming asked. He was very curious. Right now, all of his divine energy had been suppressed by the taboo energy. How could there be a burst of energy that allowed him to recover at such a crucial moment? That's your untapped potential, Guemo said. Potential. Lu Ming was puzzled. Yes, it's potential. This means that you still have potential to be unearthed. Your talent isn't limited to this, but don't be happy too early. With your current level, you still can't fuse with the taboo energy. Let's see if you still have potential to be unearthed. Guemo said. Lu Ming nodded silently in his heart, and then continued to persevere. This time, Lu Ming persevered for a longer time. He persevered for another 6 hours. Adding the previous 3 hours, he had persevered for a total of 9 hours. The scene was silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. Was this really the rhythm of success? At this time, Lu Ming had reached his limit again. Roar! Lu Ming roared. His eyes were bloodshot as he desperately persevered. The pain this time was stronger than the previous time. Just as Lu Ming was about to collapse, another burst of energy burst out. In an instant, Lu Ming recovered. As expected, there's still potential. But it's still not enough. Guemo sighed. Lu Ming was speechless. What else could Lu Ming say? He gritted his teeth and continued to persevere. This time, after more than 10 hours, Lu Ming reached his limit again. Then, another burst of energy burst out. 3 times. Guemo whispered. At this moment, the soul fire in his eye sockets was flickering. He seemed to be very surprised. To burst out potential 3 times in a row, this was absolutely shocking. Even with his experience, he had never seen such a thing before. This meant that even if Lu Ming cultivated step by step and slowly developed his potential, he could reach a very terrifying realm in the future. However, this wasn't Lu Ming's limit. After a while, Lu Ming burst out potential for the 4th time. But after the 4th time, it was the 5th time. Later on, each time he persevered, it would be longer than the previous time. By the 5th time, Lu Ming had already persevered for 7 days. 5 times, it's already been 5 times. There should be a possibility of success. Gumo's bones were trembling slightly. At first, he thought that Lu Ming wouldn't succeed, but now, it was hard to say. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly entered a strange state. Originally, he was surrounded by endless pain, but that pain suddenly disappeared. Am I going to succeed? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly sat cross-legged on the lotus. He carefully sensed it, and his spiritual sense penetrated into every cell. He had a feeling that the taboo energy was filling every cell, as if it was about to fuse with his cells. I'm really going to succeed. Haha, it seems that my talent is comparable to a peerless genius. Lu Ming thought narcissistically. He felt that he was really going to succeed. After a while, the taboo energy would completely fuse with his cells. But at this time, more figures appeared in the crowd. These figures were the top monsters who had failed to fuse with the taboo energy. They were seriously injured and retreated to recuperate. During this period, their injuries were almost recovered. Damn it, is this kid going to succeed? Jean Yan's eyes burst out with shocking killing intent. We can't let this kid continue. Let's attack and kill them. We'll deal with those dragons while we're at it. Alright, let's attack. These top monsters transmitted their voices to each other, reaching a consensus. Shwa shwa. They suddenly charged out. In an instant, there were at least a dozen peak monsters who weren't weaker than Jin Yen, charging at Lu Ming. They're attacking! Ao Yen and the others were constantly paying attention to their surroundings. The moment Jin Yen and the others attacked, they noticed it. Block them! Ao Guan let out a long howl and rushed out. After 5 days of recuperation, Ao Guan's injuries were more or less healed. At the same time, Ao Qing and the others also charged out. Ao Yen, in particular, roared, and the lava lake boiled. Giant fish appeared one after another, opening their mouths and shooting arrows at Jin Yen and the others. Ever since Jin Yen and the others had recovered from their injuries and returned, Ao Yen knew that a huge battle was unavoidable. Hence, she had secretly summoned those giant fishes to hide under the lava lake. Chapter 3667. The scene fell into a chaotic battle. At least 100 giant fishes shot out thousands of arrows towards Jin Yen and the others, enveloping them. At the same time, Ao Yen and the others launched their attacks, blocking the attacks of Jin Yen and the others. We must stop them and wait for Lu Ming to succeed. Ao Yen roared, and her silver-white dragon body emitted a dazzling divine light. Every ray of divine light turned into an incomparably sharp blade, slashing in all directions. Ao Qing, Ao Guan, and the others also did their best to stall the dozen or so top monsters. All of you, attack together! What are you waiting for? Do you really want to wait for that kid to succeed? Jin Yen roared, his voice spreading in all directions. Attack! Kill that kid and you will be heavily rewarded. Kill! The surrounding paragons of various clans could not hold themselves back. One after another, they charged toward Lu Ming. Roar! Ao Yen roared, summoning the giant fish to block them. Hundreds of giant fish rolled in the magma lake, and the magma lake turned into magma waves that rushed towards the geniuses in all directions. At the same time, numerous glittering and translucent arrows with astonishing power shot out in all directions. Immediately, many people were blocked. Kill these giant fish first. Without these giant fish, there will only be a few divine dragons left. They won't be able to do anything. Someone roared. Then, the geniuses of the various races changed their target and attacked the giant fish. There were too many geniuses of the various races, and there were so many top monsters. These giant fish could not stop them at all. Instantly, the giant fish were killed one after another. The number of giant fish rapidly decreased. Not good, we can't stop them. What should we do? Ao Yen and the others were a little anxious. If they retreated now, Lu Ming would definitely die. Block them for as long as possible. Try to buy time for Lu Ming. Ao Yen gritted her teeth. Her body rapidly expanded to over 1,000,000 meters long, and her dragon claws stepped on the air, enveloping a large group of geniuses. You want to stop us? Dream on! Today, we will kill you, 9-clawed dragon! A 2-headed giant wolf snorted coldly and pounced, pouncing towards Ao Yen. This 2-headed giant wolf had 7th-level Divine Lord cultivation. Its combat power was not weaker than Ao Yen's at all. The two of them fought fiercely. With the help of the other sky prides, Ao Yen was at a disadvantage. Ao Guan and the others were also at a disadvantage and were in imminent danger. Lu Ming took note of all these situations. His spiritual senses scanned all of them. It should be about time, Lu Ming murmured. He felt that the fusion should have been successful. Even if it ended now, the taboo energy was already his. Then, let's do it, Lu Ming muttered. He suddenly stood up, wanting to erupt with divine power. However, when he tried to circulate his divine power, he realized that it was difficult to circulate it. The speed at which it circulated was dozens of times slower than before. It was being suppressed by the taboo power. It can't be, right? I've fused with the taboo energy, and my divine power is suppressed. Wouldn't that be a loss? Lu Ming wailed in his heart. This was extremely bad news. He hurriedly asked Bone. I'm not sure either, Gu Mo muttered. Hi hee hee. Lu Ming really wanted to curse. You're not sure either? Don't you know everything? Lu Ming almost vomited blood. Bones seemed to be a little embarrassed and continued to mutter. I'm guessing that the taboo energy is too strong, too high level. That's why it suppressed the other divine powers. Moreover, you've just fused with the taboo energy, so you can't use it freely. When you try more in the future, you should be able to achieve a balance, and it won't affect the other divine powers. Of course, these are all my guesses. As for the specifics, it's up to you to figure it out yourself. At the end, Bone Demon added another sentence, rendering Lu Ming speechless. It seems that I can only use the taboo energy to fight. Lu Ming pondered. Since he couldn't circulate his divine power, he could only rely on the taboo energy. Immediately, ignoring the divine power, Lu Ming shook his bones and muscles, mobilizing all the power in his muscles and bones, and rushed out. Boom! Lu Ming's body shot out like a cannonball. His speed was astonishing. Brat, die! The one in front of Lu Ming was a top monster, Jin Yen. He exuded a golden glow from head to toe and threw a punch at Lu Ming. Die! Lu Ming shouted, but he could only throw a punch. Now, he couldn't circulate his divine power, and couldn't use his secret techniques. He could only fight with his physical body. Since the taboo energy had fused with every cell in his body, it should be able to strengthen his physical body. Lu Ming could only look forward to it. You want to compete with me in terms of physical body? You're courting death. Jin Yen was ecstatic when he saw Lu Ming use his fist to fight against his fist. His eyes flashed with a sinister light. He was from the Vajra race, and his body was as tough as diamond. In the primitive universe, there were very few people who could compare with the Vajra race in terms of physical body. Boom! In the next moment, their fists collided like two planets colliding. Then, the sinister light in Jin Yan's eyes disappeared, and was replaced by shock, disbelief, and then pain. Crack! The sound of bones breaking rang out. Of course, it came from Jin Yan's arm. Cracks began to appear on his golden fist. More and more cracks began to appear, covering his entire arm. It was as if he was a broken piece of porcelain. Then, with a loud bang, his entire arm exploded. Ah! Jin Yan screamed and retreated. So powerful! Even Lu Ming was shocked. He had fought Jin Yan several times before, and he knew how strong Jin Yan's fists were. But now, his entire arm had been shattered by a single punch. The taboo energy has fused with every cell. My physical body has become so strong. Lu Ming thought about it and was delighted. Die! Those thoughts passed in a flash, and Lu Ming charged at Jin Yan. Lu Ming's muscles and bones trembled, pushing his body forward. His speed was astonishing, and he caught up to Jin Yan in an instant. Then he threw a punch. Boom! A huge explosion occurred in the air as a terrifying power surged towards Jin Yan like an avalanche. Ah! Jin Yan screamed. Lu Ming's punch made him feel like he was about to die. His body began to shine, and he curled into a ball and began to spin. This was his strongest move. This move could be used both offensively and defensively. If he wasn't a match for his opponent, he could even borrow his opponent's strength to escape. His body was like a vertical spinning top. Boom! Lu Ming's fist landed. An even louder explosion rang out. Following that, the spinning top that Golden Inferno had transformed into flew out and stopped spinning. Jin Yan's body was now covered in cracks. How is this possible? Jin Yan said in disbelief. Then, with a bang, he exploded. Chapter 3668. This time, it wasn't just Jin Yan's arm that exploded. His entire body and soul were destroyed. He was killed by Lu Ming with a single punch. The others were all shocked. A peak monster was killed just like that. Wasn't this too fast? Kill! Lu Ming did not stop. With a turn of his body, he threw another punch at the group of elites of the various clans. The air exploded as the terrifying fist pressure pressed forward. Immediately, a large number of geniuses were killed before they could even scream. There were at least a few dozen of them. Retreat! The remaining people in that area screamed and frantically retreated. Lu Ming didn't chase after them. These people weren't a threat. His target was the peak experts that had entered the dragon race's mother planet over 30 years ago. With a turn of his body, Lu Ming charged toward another top-notch expert, the prodigy of the multi-hand race. This person had also attacked him before. The multi-hand race's genius's expression changed when he saw Lu Ming charge over. He had seen Jin Yan's fate. So he didn't dare let Lu Ming get close. His 8 arms lit up and formed seals. In an instant, 8 attacks condensed. There were divine pagodas, divine mountains, sabers, and swords. 8 different attacks fell on Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's attack was very simple. He threw a punch, and the 8 types of attacks exploded. Lu Ming's figure rapidly approached the 8-armed young man. Not good! The 8-armed youth's expression changed. He charged to the side, wanting to borrow the strength of the other experts to fight Lu Ming. But even though he was fast, Lu Ming was even faster. His muscles moved the air, pushing him forward. He was even faster than when he was using the wind-extinguishing boots. In an instant, he approached the 8-armed youth and punched. The 8-armed youth was unable to block Lu Ming's attack. He followed in Jin Yan's footsteps and was directly killed. A 6th-level Divine Lord top-notch monster was not Lu Ming's match at all. Upon seeing this, the surrounding top geniuses were astounded. They immediately backed off and distanced themselves from Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming would not let them go. He charged out explosively, charging towards one of them. In the end, that person failed to escape and was killed by Lu Ming. Then, he continued to chase after the next one. Brat, don't be so arrogant! With a furious roar, a huge crocodile charged towards Lu Ming. This was a crocodile, as long as 100 meters. It was also a top monster. Moreover, its cultivation was astonishing, reaching the 7th-level Divine Lord realm, the same level as the 2-headed wolf race youth. Swish! The crocodile's tail lashed out like a steel whip, creating a loud sound as it whipped the air. A strong wind blew as it swept towards Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming punched out again and collided with the crocodile's tail. With a loud bang, the crocodile's tail was blasted back, but it did not explode. They were both peak geniuses, but with a higher cultivation level, they were much stronger. They could even be instantly killed. This was also the reason the crocodile had dared to fight Lu Ming after seeing Lu Ming's combat power. Kill! The crocodile roared, killing intent flickering in its eyes. Its huge body pounced at Lu Ming. He opened his mouth, and the teeth in his mouth transformed into sharp sabers that flew towards Lu Ming. Clang! Lu Ming punched out, clashing with the sabers. The sabers were sent flying, but they didn't explode. Interesting. Again! Lu Ming clenched his fists and constantly punched. His attacks were like a storm. He wanted to see how strong he was at the peak of his combat strength. Boom! Boom! Explosions constantly rang out. In an instant, Lu Ming had sent out hundreds of punches. The crocodile finally couldn't resist anymore. First, the sabers formed from his teeth shattered. Then, the dense fist energy landed on the crocodile's body and directly blew it apart. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere, and scales flew everywhere. The expressions of the various races' geniuses all changed greatly. The crocodile couldn't be compared to Jin Yan, the 8-armed youth, and the others. The crocodile was a peak 7th-level Divine Lord. It could be said that he was one of the strongest geniuses who had entered the dragon race's mother planet more than 30 years ago. There was no one stronger than them. Even such people were killed by Lu Ming. It could be said that in the current dragon race's mother planet, Lu Ming was already invincible. Go! The various races' geniuses were truly afraid. They didn't dare to stay and frantically retreated, flying towards the sky. They wanted to leave this place and return to the surface of the dragon race's mother planet. Some of the peak geniuses also began to flee. Don't even think about leaving! Ao Yen roared, doing her best to hold back the 2-headed wolf race youth. Very good. Lu Ming's gaze also turned towards the 2-headed wolf race youth. His eyes flashed with killing intent as he took a step forward and charged towards the two-headed wolf race youth. Damn it! The two-headed wolf race youth roared in his heart. He was incomparably anxious as he constantly charged forward, wanting to escape. However, Ao Yen risked her own injuries to hold him back. It was very difficult for him to escape in a short period of time. With this delay, Lu Ming had already arrived. Boom! Lu Ming didn't need any techniques now. He just raised his fists and punched wildly. The two-headed wolf race's prodigy's combat strength was about the same as the crocodile's. And now, Lu Ming and Ao Yen were jointly attacking. He couldn't resist at all. After a few dozen punches from Lu Ming, the two-headed wolf race's prodigy let out a miserable cry and exploded. At this time, the other race's geniuses had already completely retreated. They frantically flew towards the sky, wanting to use that passage to return to the surface. Huff! Ao Guan, Ao Qing, and the others let out a long breath. Then, their gazes fell on Lu Ming. There was envy, surprise, and disbelief. Brother Lu, did you really succeed? Ao Guan asked. His eyes were full of worship for Lu Ming. He had personally tried to fuse with that wisp of qi, so he knew how difficult it was. He had tried his best, but only lasted for half an hour. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had lasted for more than 5 days. He simply couldn't imagine how Lu Ming had persevered for so long. It should be considered a success, Lu Ming said. He wasn't very sure. After all, he couldn't even circulate his divine power smoothly now. It must have succeeded. If it hadn't, that wisp of qi wouldn't have stayed in your body for long. It would have flown out, Ao Yen said with a complicated expression. No one knew what she was thinking. I still can't control it very well. I need to explore it more, Lu Ming said. Next, they chatted for a while. At this time, there was an uproar in the illusory divine jade. Someone had already used the illusory divine jade to record the previous scene and sent it to the illusory space. The news that Lu Ming had succeeded in fusing with the qi was also sent, causing a huge commotion. Lu Ming had actually succeeded in fusing with the power that even the Heavenly Palace cared about. Chapter 3669. This caused a huge uproar in the primitive universe. Countless people were discussing and paying attention. Even the top races were the same. As for the races whose geniuses Lu Ming had killed, they were furious and said that they wanted to tear Lu Ming to pieces. Outside, it was chaotic. As for Lu Ming and the others, they were peacefully cultivating by the lava lake. Now, Lu Ming had just gained control of the taboo energy. According to Bone Devil, he needed to familiarize himself with it. Only then would he be able to lessen the suppression of his other divine powers. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to use his other divine powers. Just like that, several days passed. Lu Ming's control of the taboo energy did improve, but it wasn't by much. The main reason was that he hadn't had much time. Lu Ming! Suddenly, a loud roar rang out. This loud roar came from the sky. It passed through the 10,000 Dragon Seal and the passageway, reaching the magma lake and exploding in the ears of Lu Ming, Ao Yen, and the rest. It was like thunder, like heavenly might. It made people unable to resist. It was as if it could make people submit. Who is it? Ao Guan's expression was ugly. He looked up at the passage with a grave expression. It was just a voice, but it made people unable to even think of resisting. A Lord of Heaven from the Heavenly Palace. Lu Ming slowly spoke. His expression was unprecedentedly grave. At this moment, the Dreamland was in an uproar. Because a Lord of Heaven from the Heavenly Palace had personally come to the dragon race's mother planet. The one who had spoken was the Heavenly Palace's Lord of Heaven. Lu Ming saw the various races' discussions through the Dreamland Jade. A Lord of Heaven from the Heavenly Palace. Ao Yen, Ao Guan, and the others' expressions changed. There was disbelief in their eyes. The Lord of Heaven was a giant in the Heavenly Palace, a top expert in the primitive universe. He was a terrifying existence. Who would have thought that Lu Ming would be able to attract someone like the Lord of Heaven from the heavenly palace to personally descend upon him just by fusing with that strand of power? What exactly was that strand of power? While Ao Yen, Ao Guan, and the others were shocked, they couldn't help but speculate in their hearts. The Lord of Heaven? Lu Ming whispered, his expression extremely solemn. The inheritance of the divine Lord of Heaven that Chiu Autumn Moon had obtained was from one of the heavenly palace, the Lord of Heaven. He didn't expect that he would have to deal with the real Lord of Heaven now. Now, what should we do? Ao Guan said. Let's go out and take a look. I wonder if the 10,000 dragon seals can stop the Lord of Heaven, Lu Ming said. In fact, whether the 10,000 dragon seals could stop the Lord of Heaven or not, they still had to go out and take a look. If they couldn't stop him, it would be useless for them to hide here. Ao Yen and the others nodded. Then, all of them flew up and followed the passageway that they had come down from. After a while, they flew out of the passage and returned to the bottom of the sea. There was no one around. It was obvious that the prodigies of the various races had all retreated. They flew up and soon arrived above the sea. Above. As soon as they returned to the sea, they were attracted by the scene in the sky. An incomparably huge figure stood in the starry sky. His body was so huge that it seemed to be the same size as the golden-winged race or the Wu people from before. However, this person's body emitted a bright divine light that enveloped his body. They couldn't see his appearance clearly, but they felt that he was incomparably sacred. His two eyes were like two beams of light that seemed to break through all the fog and landed on Lu Ming and the others. After all, the dragon race's mother planet was protected by the 10,000 dragon seals. From the outside, it was a fog. If one wanted to see through the fog, they would need to be very strong. The Lord of Heaven. Needless to say, Lu Ming and the others also knew that this person was the Lord of Heaven from the heavenly palace. Lu Ming. The Lord of Heaven opened his mouth again. His voice boomed like the might of heaven. Lord of Heaven, why are you looking for me? Lu Ming asked. His voice wasn't loud, but he knew that the Lord of Heaven could definitely hear him. You fused with that power. The Lord of Heaven spoke, but he didn't say that the power was forbidden. Yes. Lu Ming nodded. Very good. Now I'll give you a chance. Join the heavenly palace and I'll give you the position of heavenly emperor. The Lord of Heaven spoke. The Lord of Heaven's voice spread in all directions. He didn't hide it. Regardless of whether it was the young geniuses or the older generation, when they heard it, they were all envious. That was the position of the Son of Heaven. Once one ascended to it, they would be like a carp leaping through the dragon gate. From then on, they would be high and mighty, and could do whatever they wanted in the Yorwild's universe. Especially the races that had a grudge against Lu Ming, such as the winged men and the Wu people. They were extremely unwilling. Once Lu Ming became the heavenly emperor of the heavenly palace, they wouldn't be able to take revenge on Lu Ming. When they saw Lu Ming in the future, they would have to treat him with respect and curry favor with Lu Ming. When they thought of this, they were so angry that they wanted to vomit blood. Especially the golden-winged men. His son was killed by Lu Ming. He couldn't wait to chop Lu Ming into pieces. At this moment, he was the most furious. But since the Lord of Heaven spoke, he didn't dare to refute. Although the Lord of Heaven wasn't the strongest person in the heavenly palace, he represented the face of the heavenly palace. Countless people were watching. Although most of them couldn't hear Lu Ming's words, they couldn't see Lu Ming either. But there were a few other mighty beings around the dragon race's mother planet, such as the golden-winged men and the Wu people. They could see Lu Ming on the dragon race's mother planet and hear Lu Ming's words. Are you trying to bribe me? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Lu Ming, don't agree. The taboo force is a heaven-defying force. It's a natural enemy of the heavenly palace. The heavenly palace will never let go of someone who has fused with the taboo force. Once you go to the heavenly palace, they will take you down and destroy your spiritual will. They will control you and turn you into a puppet of the heavenly palace. The Bone Demon's voice rang in Lu Ming's mind. But the Bone Demon was very careful now. He restrained his soul power as if he was afraid of being discovered by the Lord of Heaven. Destroy one's spiritual will and become a puppet of the heavenly palace. Has the heavenly palace done something like this before? Lu Ming was extremely shocked. As far as I know, yes. The bone demon answered affirmatively. Lu Ming was shocked. How deep was the heavenly palace's water? If such a taboo force was controlled by the heavenly palace and turned into a puppet, wouldn't they have an invincible fighter when he grew up? So, the Lord of Heaven wants to trick you into leaving the dragon race's mother planet, the bone demon said. Lu Ming nodded silently. He believed the bone demon. Lord of Heaven, please give me some time to think about it. How about that? Lu Ming said loudly. He didn't refuse immediately. Instead, he said that he would think about it for a while. He wanted to stall for time. The Golden Winged Men and the Wu people were paying attention to Lu Ming's situation. When they saw that Lu Ming didn't agree, they were a little stunned. This kid is really stupid. He didn't agree to such a good offer. Good. I hope the Lord of Heaven will be angry. The mighty figures of the Winged Men tribe and the Sorcerer tribe were elated and excited. They quickly sent Lu Ming's reply to the dreamy divine jade. Chapter 3670. The Winged Men and Wu people's experts sent Lu Ming's words to the dreamy divine jade, which caused another uproar. What? That brat actually didn't agree. He didn't agree immediately, and he still wants to think about it. What's there to think about? If I were him, I'd agree immediately. Arrogant and ignorant. Who does he think he is? The Lord Heaven personally invited him, and he still wants to think about it. He's really courting death. I hope the Lord Heaven is furious. The dreamy divine jade was in an uproar. Many people were heartbroken. They wished they were Lu Ming and could replace Lu Ming. Lu Ming actually wanted to consider such an opportunity. Some people were gloating, hoping that the Lord Heaven would be furious. That way, Lu Ming would definitely die. Outside the dragon race's home planet, the Lord Heaven's divine light flickered. He clearly wasn't calm. He hadn't expected Lu Ming to refuse. There's no room for consideration. Lu Ming, I'll give you a chance. If you agree immediately, you'll still be the son of heaven of the heavenly palace. You can enjoy the endless resources of the heavenly palace. The heavenly palace continued to speak. This time, there was an unquestionable tone in his voice. The Lord Heaven was a peak expert of the primitive universe. His words carried enormous weight. No one dared to go against his will. No one dared to. He didn't believe that Lu Ming would dare. Unless Lu Ming didn't want to live anymore. The Winged Men and Wu people's experts were also paying attention. If it were in the past, Lu Ming would really consider it. But now that he knew the inside story, how could Lu Ming possibly agree? He would be a fool to agree. So Lu Ming added, Lord Heaven, I still have things to do. Please allow me to wait for a while. Impudent! As soon as Lu Ming finished speaking, the Lord Heaven roared. Boom! The starry sky trembled as a terrifying aura spread out. Outside the dragon race's mother planet, the entire starry sky was filled with cracks that extended to an unknown location. It's scary. When the Lord of Heaven is angry, the earth shatters and the stars are destroyed. Fortunately, the people of the various races had already retreated far away and were not affected. As for the mother planet of the Dragon Clan, it was not affected much by the 10,000 dragon seals. The Lord Heaven is angry. Could it be that Lu Ming refused? Well said. Stupid, he's dead for sure. Everyone discussed and then continued to wait. Outside the dragon race's home planet, the Lord of Heaven's eyes were brighter than two suns as he stared at Lu Ming. Even though there were 10,000 dragon seals between them, Lu Ming still felt a powerful pressure. Are you rejecting this monarch? The Lord of Heaven spoke again. His voice was even colder than before. I said to wait for a while? Since the Lord of Heaven wants to think so, that's fine, Lu Ming said indifferently. He didn't want to agree in the first place. Since waiting for a while wasn't enough, he might as well refuse. Ha ha! Lu Ming's words made the Golden Winged Race's experts, the Wu people's experts, and the others laugh in their hearts. Of course, they only laughed in their hearts and didn't dare to show it. If they did, wouldn't it be a slap to the Lord of Heaven's face? Then, they immediately sent this news to the illusory godly jade. Lu Ming rejected it. He really rejected it. There's actually such a stupid person in the world. He doesn't even want the throne. Idiot, a real idiot. If you don't want it, give it to me. Damn it, damn it! Countless people wailed, roared, and were unwilling to accept it. Of course, there were also many who gloated. Boom! Outside the dragon race's mother planet, the Lord of Heaven's aura became even more terrifying. The divine light on his body shrouded the sun. Countless dragon humans were panicking all over the dragon race's mother planet. They looked at the outer region in horror, feeling that a disaster was imminent. Do you think that I can't do anything to you just because you're hiding in the dragon race's mother planet and protected by 10,000 dragon seals? The Lord of Heaven spoke. His voice was filled with killing intent. Originally, he wanted to use the throne to trick Lu Ming into going to the heavenly palace. After that, he would directly suppress Lu Ming, obliterate Lu Ming's spiritual will, and turn Lu Ming into a puppet of the heavenly palace. He would become a sharp blade of the heavenly palace. He didn't expect that Lu Ming would reject it. Could it be that Lu Ming knew the secret of the forbidden power? No matter what, the heavenly palace would never allow someone who had fused with the forbidden power to still be alive and kicking. Because in history, the heavenly palace had suffered a great loss because of this. All races, listen up, especially the top 100 races. Go and call all the geniuses below the Divine Emperor realm. I will send them into the dragon race's mother planet to kill Lu Ming. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. Whoever can bring him to me will be conferred the title of Heavenly Daughter. The Lord of Heaven's voice spread across the starry sky. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Suddenly, voices rang out in the starry sky. Then, the experts of the various races quickly sent the news back to their headquarters. You want to send in stronger geniuses to kill me? As long as they're below the Divine Emperor realm, they can be sent in. Lu Ming's face was a little solemn. The Lord of Heaven's means are unfathomable. Now that the power of the 10,000 dragon seals has decreased, we don't know if he can really do it. We have to be careful. Ao Yen said. Then what should we do? Ao Guan was a little anxious. Their cultivation was still too weak. If anyone below the Divine Emperor realm could come in, they wouldn't be able to fight against them. Especially the top 100 races of the ancient desolate 10,000 races. There were definitely some peerless geniuses among them, and their cultivation was at the 7th, 8th, or even 9th level of the Divine Emperor realm. They could kill them with a flip of their hand. You all stay here and observe the situation. I'll go and make some arrangements. I'll come to you later, Ao Yen said to Lu Ming and the others. After saying that, her figure flashed and she left the place. Lu Ming and the others stood on the surface of the sea and waited quietly. They wanted to know if the Lord of Heaven could really send in so many powerful geniuses. Time passed by day. Lu Ming found out through the illusory divine jade that some terrifying geniuses among the various races were rushing to the dragon race's mother planet. Originally, with the strength of the 10,000 dragon seals, it was impossible for these people to enter the dragon race's mother planet in a short period of time. Even if the 10,000 dragon seals weakened again after a few decades, it would still be impossible for these 7th-level divine emperors and above to enter. But now, the Lord of Heaven had spoken, and these geniuses were extremely excited. Entering the dragon race's mother planet, not only could they kill Lu Ming, but they also had a chance to obtain the position of Heavenly Daughter. In addition, the opportunities in the dragon race's mother planet were also very tempting. Of course, the distance between the various races and the dragon race's mother planet varied. Some races were quite far away from the dragon race's mother planet. Even with the wormhole, it would still take a long time. It wasn't until half a month later that a large number of geniuses from various races gathered outside the dragon race's mother planet. Wait a moment. I'll open a gap in the 10,000 dragon seals. Hurry up and rush in through the gap. Do you understand? Remember, those above the divine emperor realm don't move. The backlash from the 10,000 dragon seals will be very strong. It will kill you, the Lord of Heaven said. Understood, the geniuses of various races shouted. Chapter 3671. Next, the Lord of Heaven of the Heavenly Palace made his move. His body emitted boundless divine light, and the starry sky began to tremble. Then, the boundless divine light gathered into a battle sword and slashed down at the dragon race's mother planet. Dazzling, incomparably dazzling, so dazzling that people couldn't open their eyes. Rumble. Before the battle sword slashed down, the entire dragon race's mother planet shook violently, as if it was about to explode. Of course, this was an illusion. The dragon race's mother planet was born from the primordial chaos when heaven and earth were first created. How could it be destroyed so easily? If it could, it would have been destroyed in the battle back then. Roar! In the next moment, a dragon's roar shook the sky, and the entire dragon race's mother planet lit up. Then, an incomparably huge dragon claw reached out, grabbing at the dazzling sword light. 10,000 dragon seals activated. Boom! A terrifying explosion sounded, and it was as if dozens of stars had exploded in the starry sky. The dragon race's mother planet shook violently once again, and the seawater tumbled, causing a tsunami and huge waves hundreds of meters high. Lu Ming, Aoguan, and the others opened their eyes wide, gathering their divine power in their eyes as they stared at the sky. Open! The Lord of Heaven shouted, and his voice shook the universe. Pure white divine power burst out crazily, gathering into an even bigger battle sword and slashing down. The Lord of Heaven was really too strong. Who knew how high his cultivation had reached? Above the divine emperor realm, or above, no one knew. It was too far away from Lu Ming. Roar! The dragon's roar shook the sky, and the 10,000 dragon seals were activated. It was as if 10,000 divine dragons were roaring at the same time. Lu Ming vaguely saw a huge divine dragon curling its body, forming a circle around the entire dragon race's mother planet. Roar! This divine dragon let out a shocking roar, and stretched out a dragon claw, grabbing at the Lord of Heaven's battle sword. Another violent explosion sounded out. Strength overflowed in all directions. The dragon claw and the battle sword shattered at the same time. However, the Lord of Heaven made a grabbing motion, and a gigantic hand appeared, grabbing towards the 10,000 dragon seal. Then, the Lord of Heaven tried to tear the 10,000 dragon seal apart. However, the 10,000 dragon seal was not that easy to break. Dragon roars rang out as more dragon claws reached out and clawed at the claw formed by the Lord of Heaven. At this moment, another figure suddenly appeared beside the Lord of Heaven. This figure was also extremely huge, and its entire body emitted a pure white holy light. Shockingly, there were 6 pairs of pure white wings on his back. There were a total of 12 wings. A 12-winged angel of the angel race, a thought appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Lord of Heaven, let me help you! The 12-winged angel's voice rang out. Boundless divine light enveloped it, and it transformed into an angel's sword that slashed at the dragon claw. This 12-winged angel's cultivation was terrifying. Its combat power was actually not any weaker than the Lord of Heaven's. The pure white sword condensed from holy light slashed down, directly blocking the dragon claw's attack. Lu Ming discovered that the angel race's divine energy and attack method were very similar to the Lord of Heaven's. No wonder it was rumored that the angel race's backer was the heavenly palace. With the 12-winged angel blocking the dragon claw, the Lord of Heaven's hands were freed. With a shout, he waved his hands, and 2 huge palms appeared. He grabbed at the 10,000 dragon seal, and then tore it apart. Rumble, crack, terrifying explosions rang out, and the stars shook. Then, everyone saw that the 10,000 dragon seal had actually been torn apart by a crack. Although it was very small, it was really torn open. Lu Ming, Aoguan, and the others' expressions changed. At this time, a figure appeared beside Lu Ming and the others. It was Ao Yen. Ao Yen looked at the sky, her expression very grave. It seems that the 10,000 dragon seal has really weakened a lot, Ao Yen muttered. Back then, when the 10,000 dragon seal had just been formed, not to mention 1 or 2 existences on the level of the Lord of Heaven, even 8 or 10 of them wouldn't be able to break it. In these past years, the 10,000 dragon seal had indeed become weaker. Nothing could stop the erosion of time. All of you, go in! Quickly! The Lord of Heaven shouted, allowing the various races' geniuses to take the opportunity to charge into the dragon race's mother planet. Charge! Immediately, the various races' geniuses charged toward the crack. The ones at the front were the demon-level geniuses from the top 10 races on the desolate 10,000 races board. However, when they reached the crack, they were blocked by a terrifying force. They were unable to move forward at all. There was even a monstrous genius with the highest cultivation, a quasi-emperor realm genius. With a miserable scream, his body directly exploded. This was a terrifying genius of the angel race, and he died just like that. Not good! The top 10 races' geniuses frantically retreated in fright. However, there were some monstrous geniuses from races ranked below the top 10. They charged through without being affected. Damn it! The Lord of Heaven roared. The top 10 races' geniuses, back off! Your bloodlines are too strong, and you're being targeted by the 10,000 dragon seal. Don't go in! The other races' geniuses, quickly go in! They can't go in! The eyes of the geniuses below the top 10 lit up. The fact that the top 10 races' geniuses couldn't go in was great news for them. There would be less competition. As for the top 10 races' geniuses, their expressions were ugly. Such a huge opportunity had slipped away just like that. They were unwilling. Quick, I can't hold on for much longer! Shouted the Lord of Heaven. Whoosh! A large number of geniuses charged into the crack. In just a few breaths' time, several hundred people had charged in. All right, everyone else, back off! The Heavenly Lord yelled, and a surge of energy shot out from his body, pushing the rest of the elites back. The number of geniuses that had come was shocking. There were naturally more than a few hundred of them. However, the Lord of Heaven couldn't hold on for much longer. The backlash from the 10,000 dragon seal was too strong. He could only open the crack for a few breaths' time. Following that, the Lord of Heaven's body trembled and he retreated a few steps. The 2 hands he had condensed collapsed, and the crack also disappeared. Damn it! It's too bad we didn't make it in time. Those people really got lucky. The remaining geniuses were bitter and hateful. They cursed themselves for being a step too slow and missing such a good thing. They were envious, jealous, and resentful. In their view, among the several hundred people who had just entered, there would definitely be someone who would become a heavenly son or heavenly daughter. All right, all we have to do is wait, said the Lord of Heaven. He retreated with the 12-winged angel, and the light around him dimmed. Now that the geniuses had been sent in, all they had to do was wait. On the dragon race's mother planet, above the sea. After the Lord of Heaven tore open a crack in the 10,000 dragon seal, Lu Ming, Ao Yen, and the others left the sea. We can't fight these people. We can only avoid them for now. Follow me, Ao Yen said, and charged into the sea. Lu Ming, Ao Guan, and the others also charged into the sea. They swam into the distance. Chapter 3672. Lu Ming wasn't an impulsive person. The monstrous geniuses that came in this time weren't people they could deal with. The top 100 existences on the great desolate 10,000 races board were definitely terrifyingly talented. Furthermore, the cultivation limit was below the Divine Emperor realm. That meant that the people that came in were all 7th level Divine Lords or above. That was because they had already seen Lu Ming's strength. If their cultivation bases were too low, they wouldn't be Lu Ming's match at all. So the people that came in this time were definitely monstrous geniuses with extremely high cultivation bases. What could Lu Ming and the others use to fight against such geniuses? Being impulsive would only lead to death. Lu Ming and the others followed Ao Yen through the seabed. After a while, they arrived at a small island. The island was filled with restrictive spells. This island is called Punglai Island. It's very hidden and covered with restrictions. If we go in, those people outside won't be able to find us. Ao Yen formed a hand seal and opened the restrictions. They entered the island. What a spacious island! What dense divine qi! Lu Ming's eyes lit up the moment they entered the island. This island was incomparably huge, like a continent. Clearly, someone had used spatial folding techniques on Punglai Island. It looked small from the outside, but it was incomparably huge once they entered. Furthermore, the divine qi was extremely dense. It was even denser than Black Dragon Valley and Golden Dragon Ridge. The island was lush and full of vitality. They could smell the medicinal fragrance from afar. There were definitely many shocking divine herbs growing here. It's not bad to enter seclusion here, Lu Ming muttered. All right, we'll enter seclusion here. Brother Lu, you have the illusory divine jade. Can you use it to observe the outside world? Said Ao Yen. Of course. Lu Ming smiled and immediately took out the illusory divine jade to check. There was a commotion in the illusory divine jade. At one glance, Lu Ming knew that the number of monstrous geniuses who had entered this time was in the hundreds. They definitely won't be able to find this place. Let's cultivate here first. There are many divine herbs here. Once our cultivation bases increase, we'll go out and kill them all. Ao Yen said. All right, it's cold. When the time comes, we'll make sure these people don't return. Ao Guan shouted coldly, his eyes ferocious. Everyone spread out to find a place to cultivate. Not long after Lu Ming and the others entered the bottom of the sea, the hundreds of geniuses who had entered from the outside had already arrived at the sea area where Lu Ming and the others had landed. They have left. They must be in the sea. Chase them. Spread out and chase after them. Whoever catches up to them will be considered lucky. Hundreds of geniuses rushed into the sea and spread out, chasing in all directions. However, they were destined to not be able to find Lu Ming. After chasing for some distance, they simply could not find any trace of Lu Ming and the others. Humph, the dragon race's mother planet is only so big. Let's see where you can run to. Even if I have to search the entire dragon race's mother planet, I will find you. The hundreds of geniuses spread out. Some continued to search for Lu Ming and the others in the sea, while others went to the 3 continents to search for Lu Ming and the others. Previously, there were still many geniuses from the various races who had not left. The people who had entered later gathered those people and searched everywhere for Lu Ming and the others. However, in the end, they were all in vain. Time passed day by day, but they still could not find any trace of Lu Ming and the others. Punglai Island on a small mountain peak, Lu Ming was sitting cross-legged, cultivating. It had already been half a year. Ever since the Lord of Heaven had torn the 10,000 dragons seal and allowed the geniuses from the outside world to enter, half a year had passed. During this half a year, Lu Ming had been cultivating on Punglai Island. His main cultivation direction was to control the taboo energy. That was because he realized that if he couldn't completely control the taboo energy, he wouldn't be able to use any other energy, let alone cultivate. Half a year was really too short. Although Lu Ming felt that his control of the taboo energy had increased, he was still a distance away from completely controlling it. Even so, Lu Ming felt that his strength had increased by a lot. As long as he controlled his muscles and bones, he could feel power erupting from every cell. When this power erupted, it was very shocking. Although he didn't use any secret techniques, when this power erupted, it was much stronger than when he used his secret techniques in the past. Roar! Meanwhile, a dragon's roar could be heard coming from another direction, followed by a powerful aura. Ao Yen also broke through. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He knew that Ao Yen had broken through. She had broken through from the 4th level of the Divine Lord Realm to the 5th level of the Divine Lord Realm. Ao Yen's strength was already extremely strong. Now that she had broken through to the 5th level of the Divine Lord Realm, her battle strength had undoubtedly increased. Actually, in this half a year, Ao Guan, Ao Qing, and the other 4 8-clawed divine dragons' cultivation had also broken through level 1 after another. Pumlai Island's cultivation environment was too good. Furthermore, it was filled with divine medicines. Aoguan and the rest used these divine medicines to cultivate every day. The cultivation conditions were even better than when the dragon clan was at their peak. Their cultivation naturally increased very quickly. After all, when the dragon clan was at their peak, there were too many dragon clan members. The resources allocated to each dragon clan member was naturally limited. How was it like now, eating divine medicines like rice? In this half a year, Ao Guan and Ao Cheng's cultivation had reached the 4th level of the Divine Lord realm. With their battle strength, their cultivation reaching the 4th level of the Divine Lord realm was enough to compare with the 7th level Divine Lord realm two-headed werewolf prodigy back then. Their overall strength had soared by a large margin. Lu Ming stopped and headed in the direction where Ao Yen was. When he arrived, he saw that Ao Guang, Ao Cheng, and the rest had all come. A silver 9-clawed dragon with a slender dragon body was coiled on a mountain peak. Between heaven and earth, endless divine chi rushed toward the silver 9-clawed dragon and was absorbed by her. A few hours later, Ao Yan's aura stabilized. She twisted her dragon body and transformed into human form. "Princess, you've broken through." "That's great." Ao Cheng smiled. "All right, Princess. Let's kill our way out now. Those despicable fellows keep killing the dragon human clan members to threaten us. They deserve to die." Ao Guan gritted his teeth, his killing intent cold. "Let's take a look first." Ao Yen nodded. Then, she formed a seal with both hands. Suddenly, images appeared in the sky. There were hundreds of images, projecting different mountains and rivers. These images were all images of various places on the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Back then, when the Heavenly Palace's Lord of Heaven attacked the 10,000 dragon seals, Ao Yen had left for a period of time. During this period of time, she had contacted the dragon human clan members all over the place and set up many surveillance arrays. These grand monitoring formations were able to project images of the area they were in. During this period of time, they had watched the situation outside through the surveillance arrays. Some images were empty. There was no one in them. But in some images, there were people. Some were only the dragon human clan, but in some images, there were also prodigies from the outside world. Chapter 3673. For example, one of the scenes. "Tell me, where are those 9-clawed dragon and that Lu Ming?" One of the geniuses from the outside world held a jade talisman in his hand. The jade talisman glowed and a portrait appeared. It was really a portrait of Lu Ming and the others. The geniuses from the outside world were interrogating a group of dragon humans. "We don't know, we haven't seen them at all," a dragon human cried out. "In that case, what's the point of keeping you alive?" The geniuses from the outside world shouted coldly and struck out with his palm. One by one, the dragon humans exploded and were killed. There was not only one such situation, but several other places. In the past half a year, such a situation had happened frequently. In fact, Lu Ming had seen many such videos in the illusory space. The geniuses from the outside world had deliberately recorded these videos and placed them in the illusory space to provoke Lu Ming and force Lu Ming to come out. "How dare you! Kill our way out and kill these bastards!" Ao Guan roared angrily. Lu Ming, Ao Yen, and the others also had killing intent in their eyes. These people's methods were too despicable. "We have to kill our way out, but we can't rashly do so. These people from the outside world might have given us a chance, but we can't figure out their strength. If we want to kill a 9th-level Divine Lord or even a Quasi-Emperor, then not only will we not be able to kill them, but we will also lose our lives," Ao Yen said. She was much calmer than Ao Guan. "Princess Ao Yen is right. We can kill them one by one, but we have to figure out their cultivation first. It won't be too late to take action then." Lu Ming nodded. "Some dragon humans and I have set up surveillance arrays everywhere. This is very beneficial for our operation. We can slowly observe their cultivation in the dark, Ao Yen said. After discussing the plan, they began to take action. Ao Yen let the 4 8-clawed divine dragons continue to cultivate on Palai Island while she, Lu Ming, Ao Qing, and Ao Guan set off. It was easier to move with fewer people, but more people would be more disadvantageous. They left Punlai Island and headed for the Dragon Spirit Continent. They silently entered the Dragon Spirit Continent and arrived at a mountain range. Outside the 10,000 dragon seals on the Dragon Clan's mother planet, the Lord of Heaven, an almighty angel, naturally couldn't spy on the Dragon Clan's mother planet all the time. After all, with the cover of the 10,000 dragon seals, it was impossible to see the situation inside the Dragon Clan's mother planet from the outside. Only a cloud of smoke could be seen. Of course, an expert like the Lord of Heaven could still see through the 10,000 dragon seal if he wanted to. However, maintaining this state consumed a lot of energy. Even the Lord of Heaven couldn't maintain it for a long time. That was why Lu Ming and the others dared to come out. They weren't afraid of being spied on. Ao Yen waved her hand, and a picture appeared in the air. This is the Ziming Mountain, it's not far from us. There are 2 incredible geniuses from the outside world here. Let's observe their cultivation levels first before attacking, Ao Yen said. After the plan was made, they headed towards the Ziming Mountain and laid in ambush there. There were 2 powerful geniuses on the Ziming Mountain. They were monstrous figures of the Ziying clan. After secretly observing, they finally came to the conclusion that these 2 monstrous geniuses of the Ziying clan were at the 7th level Divine Lord realm. They could attack. Now, the strength of the 4 of them had improved greatly compared to half a year ago. The other party was only at the 7th level Divine Lord realm, so they could definitely attack. Attack! Ao Yen shouted softly, and the 4 of them rushed towards the Ziming Mountain. Who is it? As soon as Lu Ming and the others rushed out, their power caused a fluctuation, and they were immediately discovered by the 2 monstrous geniuses of the Ziying clan. Their figures rushed into the sky, and purple lightning burst out of their eyes as they scanned Lu Ming and the others. It's them! It's Lu Ming and the 9-clawed dragon! How dare they take the initiative to attack us? Not only were the 2 monstrous geniuses of the Ziying clan fearless, but they also looked excited. They turned into 2 purple lights and rushed towards Lu Ming and the others. Their bodies were completely covered by purple divine light, and their strongest attacks, such as their origin source secret technique, were all unleashed. One of the monstrous geniuses of the Ziying clan directly attacked Lu Ming. His palm was like a knife, and it slashed towards Lu Ming. There was a wisp of purple chi in his palm. This was his origin source secret technique, and it was extremely terrifying. Boom! Lu Ming still couldn't use his divine power, so his attack was still very direct. He directly punched out. Boom! Lu Ming's fist collided with the palm of the monstrous genius of the Ziying clan, and there was a violent explosion. At the same time, there were sounds of bones breaking, and then a figure retreated. It was the Ziying clan's genius, and Lu Ming's figure only swayed a little. The Ziying clan, ranked 99th on the list of 10,000 primitive races, is indeed powerful. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Now, his control of the forbidden power was stronger, and the power that he could unleash was also stronger. His battle strength was also stronger than half a year ago. Half a year ago, he could already kill a 7th-level Divine Lord from the 2-headed wolf clan with his bare hands. Although the monstrous genius of the Ziying clan in front of him was also a 7th-level Divine Lord, his battle strength was stronger than the 2-headed wolf clans. Indeed, the higher the rank of a race on the list of 10,000 primitive races, the stronger their bloodline power, and the stronger their battle strength in a battle of the same level. Of course, this was the average level, and there was no lack of exceptions. The Ziying clan's genius was even more shocked when his hand was broken by Lu Ming's punch, and there was disbelief in his eyes. In his eyes, Lu Ming was just a 3rd-level Divine Lord. Kill! Lu Ming yelled and dashed out, charging toward the prodigy of the Ziying clan. At the same time, there was a dragon roar as Ao Guan rushed over to assist Lu Ming. After Ao Guan broke through to the 4th level Divine Lord, his battle strength increased greatly. Although he might not be a match for the Xian clan's genius in a one-on-one fight, he could still pose a great threat to his opponent. The 9 dragon claws kept clawing at the Xian clan's genius. The genius waved his palm continuously, and purple light burst out, blocking Ao Guan's attack. But in this way, he put himself in a dead end. Lu Ming punched continuously, and in an instant, dozens of punches were thrown out. Dozens of terrifying fist forces crushed toward the genius of the Xian clan like a storm. Ah! The Xian clan's genius roared, and his purple hair danced wildly. Divine light burst out as he resisted with all his strength. However, he was still no match. He could only block a portion of the fist forces, and the rest of the fist forces bombarded his body, almost causing him to explode. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body cracked. In the end, Lu Ming punched through his glabella, obliterating his soul and killing him completely. On the other side, Ao Yan and Ao Qing joined forces to finish the battle. The other genius of the Xian clan was also very strong, not weaker than the one who fought with Lu Ming. But now that Ao Yan's cultivation was at the 5th level Divine Lord realm, she could completely crush her opponent. With Ao Qing, they quickly killed this person. This trip was very easy. Chapter 3674. Haha, awesome! Ao Guan laughed loudly. Previously, through the surveillance array, he had seen the 2 monsters from the Xian race killing the dragon humans. Ao Guan had long wanted to kill them. Now that he had successfully killed them, Ao Guan felt extremely carefree. Lu Ming, did you record the scene just now with the illusory divine jade? Then, Ao Guan looked at Lu Ming again. Yes. Lu Ming nodded. Ha, great! Ao Guan laughed loudly. Then, Lu Ming sent the scene of the battle to the illusory divine space. This was their powerful counterattack to the various races. If anyone wanted to deal with them and kill the dragon humans, they would have to face their revenge. It's Lu Ming, that kid! Damn it, is he threatening us? Where is he? It seems to be in the dragon spirit continent. Let's go and kill them! The monsters from various races were furious and rushed to Purple Bright Mountain from various places. Of course, Lu Ming and the others would not be so stupid to stay at Purple Bright Mountain and wait for others to kill them. After Lu Ming sent the video to the illusory divine space, they left Purple Bright Mountain and came to a secret place. The dragon race's mother planet was the home of Ao Yan, Ao Guan, and the others. They knew many secret places and it was too easy to find a place to hide. After hiding, they would use the surveillance array to monitor the various places. Sure enough, not long after, a large number of monsters gathered at Purple Bright Mountain. However, they naturally did not find anything. They searched the area around Purple Bright Mountain but could not find Lu Ming and the others. They could only leave dejectedly. Lu Ming and the others continued to look for targets that they could attack. 7 days later, they found their targets again. The other party also had 2 7th-level Divine Lord monstrous heavens chosen, plus some heavens chosen below 5th-level Divine Lord. Those 5th-level Divine Lords and below were naturally left behind by those who had entered before. In the end, more than 10 of them were wiped out by Lu Ming and the others. The video was sent to the illusory divine space and caused a commotion. However, when these people reached their destination, Lu Ming and the others had already left. Damn it, you can only be a coward and sneak attack in the dark. Despicable and shameless! Don't let me find you, or I'll grind your bones to dust. Many people roared in the dream realm, and even took videos to provoke Lu Ming and the others. However, Lu Ming and the others couldn't be bothered. They had already secretly returned to Pamlai Island. This time, he had killed a few of the other party's prodigies in a row. It was a powerful counterattack. However, with their current strength, it was not appropriate for them to clash head-on with the other party. Encountering a 7th or 8th level Divine Lord was still fine. But if he encountered a 9th level Divine Lord or a quasi-emperor, then it would be dangerous. Furthermore, if Shaoqing ran into someone ranked very high, such as someone ranked in the top 10 of the great desolate Aeon's 10,000 races, he would be in danger. Of course, Lu Ming and the others already knew that the top 10 races of the desolate 10,000 races board would not be able to enter. To them, this was a blessing in disguise. Now, they could only continue to cultivate and increase their strength. Only then would they be able to contend against these people. After returning to Panlai Island, they continued to cultivate while paying attention to the situation outside. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, another half a year had passed. At this time, Lu Ming felt that he had complete control of the taboo power. Any casual attack could erupt with terrifying power. At the same time, Lu Ming could already use all kinds of divine power. However, Lu Ming discovered a major problem. That was, his divine power could not be increased. When he could control his divine power, he was prepared to refine the divine medicine to increase his cultivation. However, when he refined the divine medicine, the energy of the divine medicine spread to every part of his body, scattering into every cell. To be more precise, there was a strong attractive force in each of his cells that absorbed the medicinal power. None of it was distributed to his divine power. Lu Ming tried more than 10 times and refined more than 10 divine medicines, but the result was the same. Lu Ming finally gave up. No way, could it be that my cultivation can't be increased in the future? Will I forever stay at the 3rd level of the Divine Lord realm? Lu Ming wailed. This was a major blow to him. Could it be that I have to cultivate the taboo power in the future? The problem is, how do I cultivate the taboo power? Lu Ming sighed. Although he felt that he had complete control of the taboo power now, allowing his combat strength to increase again, he did not know how to increase the taboo power at all. He asked Gu Mo this question, but Gu Mo also did not know. Lu Ming was speechless. Roar! 2 dragon roars came from afar. Ao Guan, Ao Qing broke through again. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Ao Guan and Ao Qing broke through consecutively. Their cultivation had already reached the 5th level of the Divine Lord realm. Ao Yen had not broken through yet, and was still at the 5th level of the Divine Lord realm. However, she had already reached the peak of the 5th level of the Divine Lord realm. He believed that it would not be long before she could break through too. This speed could be said to be shocking. Lu Ming flew over and discovered 2 9-clawed dragons flying in the sky. Not long after, they transformed into human form. "Ha, Lu Ming, how is your cultivation?" Ao Guan laughed. "It's SOSO. Lu Ming sighed. Seeing Ao Guan and the rest break through, he was extremely envious. "Come, let's go find Princess and see the situation outside." Ao Guan smiled and headed towards the center of Panlai Island with Lu Ming and Ao Qing. That was where Ao Yen was in seclusion. When they found Ao Yen, they saw that Ao Yan's expression was somewhat ugly. It was even filled with killing intent. Ao Guan and the rest's hearts sank. "Princess, what's wrong?" Ao Guan asked. "Look." After Ao Yen finished speaking, she waved her hands and an image appeared in the air. On a mountain peak, a large group of dragon men were tied up and kneeling on the ground. The number was shocking. There were at least tens of thousands of them. There was even a huge 8-clawed divine dragon lying on the ground powerlessly. On the side, there were some monstrous geniuses from various races who were staring coldly at these dragon men. I'll repeat myself. I know that you have set up surveillance arrays everywhere and can see the situation here. Even if you can't, it doesn't matter. We'll send it to the illusory space. Now, Lu Ming and your 9-clawed dragon, get over here obediently. Otherwise, I'll kill a dragon man every minute. A young man in a golden robe said coldly. After he finished speaking, he clenched his fist and grabbed a dragon man girl. No, don't! The dragon man girl was horrified. She kept struggling as tears flowed down her face. However, the young man in the golden robe's eyes were cold. Now 1 minute is up. Kill! The young man in the golden robe shouted coldly. With a squeeze of his dragon power, the dragon man girl was killed. Damn bastards! Ao Guan roared furiously. killing a person every minute. How many dragon men had these people killed? It was obvious that the other party wanted to use this method to force them out. Chapter 3675. Winged Men? Lu Ming muttered with a cold look in his eyes. The golden-robed youth had a pair of golden wings on his back. He was clearly a monstrous genius of the winged men. A golden winged man. He had also entered when the Lord of Heaven tore the 10,000 dragon seal. He was definitely powerful. He wanted to use this method to force Lu Ming and the others to show themselves. Lu Ming, look at the illusory heavenly jade. Ao Guan faced Lu Ming. Lu Ming's glabella shone and the illusory heavenly jade appeared. Then, Lu Ming saw some videos that were posted by those people just now. With a thought, the videos appeared in the air for everyone to see. It was similar to before. These people were clamoring to kill the dragon men at the same time. You can continue to hide. I'll give you 3 days. If you don't show up in 3 days, I'll kill this 8-clawed divine dragon, drink its blood, and roast its meat. An 8-clawed divine dragon. Its meat must be delicious. Its blood is also very nutritious. Ha ha ha, remember, my name is Xie. In the last video, the monster from the Winged Men clan laughed heartily. Damn it, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to kill this bastard. Ao Guan was furious. His eyes were red. Don't be rash. They're obviously trying to force us out. There must be a trap there. They want to catch us all in one fell swoop. Ao Yen stopped Ao Guan. Although she was also very angry, she did not lose her mind. Then what should we do? Do we just watch these bastards kill the dragon men and eat the flesh of our dragon race? I can't stand it. At most I'll die. It's better than this. Ao Guan roared in anger. We need to think about this at length. Ao Yen said with a frown. It's not completely impossible to kill our way out. At this time, Lu Ming spoke. Brother Lu, do you have a good plan? Ao Yan's eyes lit up. They must have set up traps in the vicinity of that mountain peak. For example, slaughtering formations and the like. Thus, even if we are to fight, we cannot fight on that mountain peak. Furthermore, before we act, we must ascertain our opponent's cultivation. If there's an opponent we can't fight against, then we'll only be sending ourselves to our deaths. We won't be of any use, Lu Ming said. Then how do we lure them away? How do we know their cultivation bases? Lu Ming, don't hide it anymore. Just tell me. You're making me uncomfortable. Ao Guan said somewhat anxiously. Simple, we will set up an ambush near that mountain peak, then I will lure them out. Lu Ming said. It's too dangerous for you to lure them. Ao Yen, Ao Guan, and the others' expressions changed. Don't worry. Now that I have complete control over that strand of energy, I can use the secret techniques of the origin source. Coupled with that energy, my speed is extremely fast. Even if they have quasi-emperors, I'm confident that I can escape. Right now, the Heavenly Palace's target is me. As long as they can take me down, they can become the Heavenly Prince or Heavenly Daughter. This is an extremely huge temptation. Thus, as long as I appear, they will definitely chase after me. This way, we can lure them out of that mountain peak, and at the same time, see their cultivation bases. Lu Ming said. Ao Yen and the others pondered. They wouldn't be in danger if they did that, but it would be a huge crisis for Lu Ming. If the other party had someone who specialized in speed, then it would be troublesome. How can we not fight? If this continues, we'll be too passive. We must kill them until they're terrified. Only then will they restrain themselves. Lu Ming said with a cold glint in his eyes. All right, let's do it. Ao Guan shouted. In the end, Ao Yen and Ao Qing also nodded in agreement. Just like last time, the 4 8-clawed divine dragons stayed on Penglai Island. Although they also wanted to participate in the battle, Ao Yan's attitude was firm. The 4 8-clawed divine dragon's strength was still a bit weak. The 8-clawed divine dragon seemed very close to the 9-clawed dragon, but their talent and bloodlines were very different. In a battle of the same level, the The difference between an 8-clawed divine dragon and a 9-clawed dragon was very large. After discussing, they set off. Yi Xie and the others had already sent out the location. They were afraid that Lu Ming and the others wouldn't go. Their destination was the Wind God Mountain Range. Thus, they used their fastest speed to head towards the Wind God Mountain Range. In just 2.5 days, they arrived near the Wind God Mountain Range. Then Ao Yen, Ao Qing, and Ao Guan found a secret place to hide. As for Lu Ming, he was responsible for luring Yi Xie and the others. Brother Lu, be careful. Ao Yen and the others were a bit worried. Don't worry. Lu Ming smiled and then headed towards the Wind God Mountain Range. On the highest peak of the Wind God Mountain Range, Yi Xie and the others were on this peak. Humph, it seems Lu Ming and those cowards don't dare to come. Let's see how long they can hide. If they don't appear for a day, I'll kill them for a day. If they don't appear for a year, I'll kill them for a year. Yi Xie sneered. His eyes were filled with brutal killing intent, as well as burning greed. Yes, greed. As long as he killed Lu Ming and handed over Lu Ming's corpse to the Heavenly Palace's Lord of Heaven, he would become the Son of Heaven of the Heavenly Palace. In addition, the Golden Winged Race's supreme expert had promised him a huge reward. As long as he could take down Lu Ming, he would soar. In the future, it wouldn't be impossible for him to become one of the overlords of the desolate universe. When he thought of that, his heart burned with passion. Bang! Yi Xie casually killed the Dragon Man and roared, Lu Ming, hurry up and come out. I can't wait any longer. At this moment, an excited shout was heard. Lu Ming is here! Someone shouted. Yi Xie's gaze quickly turned to the front. In the distant sky, a young figure was walking over. This person was, of course, Lu Ming. He's here, he's really here. That's great! Yi Xie was trembling with excitement. Then, he glanced at the others on the peak. This time, he wasn't the only one who had set this trap. There were also other monstrous geniuses of the other races. Now that Lu Ming was here, these people would become his competitors. He was thinking rapidly about how he could take credit for Lu Ming's contribution later. But at this moment, Lu Ming stopped in the distance. He didn't continue to approach the peak. Lu Ming, you're finally here. Haha, looks like you care a lot about these dragon men. Yi Xie laughed. I'm here. Let them go. Lu Ming said. I can let them go, but you can come over and exchange people for them. Also, get those 9-clawed dragon to come over and we'll let them go. Yi Xie sneered. Let them go first. Lu Ming said. Lu Ming, you don't have the right to negotiate with us. Come over first and we'll let them go. Otherwise, I'll kill all these dragon men. Yi Xie shouted. Lu Ming's lips curled up slightly. It was obvious that there was a trap there. Asking Lu Ming to go over? Was he that stupid? Bang! Lu Ming stepped on the void, but instead of moving forward, he moved backward. Chapter 3676. Lu Ming retreated 1,000 meters with each step. In an instant, he had retreated 100 miles. Yi Xie's expression changed as he roared. Lu Ming, you still dare to retreat? Do you want these people to die? Let them go first. Otherwise, goodbye. Lu Ming said indifferently and continued to retreat. He was very decisive. Clearly, if Yi Xie and the others didn't let them go, Lu Ming would retreat. Damn it! Damn bastard! Yi Xie and the other monstrous geniuses roared in their hearts. Lu Ming's actions had exceeded their expectations. They had originally thought that since Lu Ming had appeared, he definitely cared about the dragon humans. They could use the dragon humans to threaten Lu Ming, and make Lu Ming fall into their trap. That way, it would be easy to take down Lu Ming. But they hadn't expected that Lu Ming wouldn't care about the lives of the dragon humans and would immediately retreat. They had waited so long for Lu Ming to appear. How could they just watch as Lu Ming retreated? Even if they couldn't use the trap, they still had to take down Lu Ming. Chase! We can't let him go! Furious roars rang out as the monstrous geniuses present rapidly chased after Lu Ming. So they've really chased after me? Lu Ming sneered. This scene was within his expectations. The heavenly palace had offered such a high reward. These people definitely wouldn't give up on him. As long as he appeared, these people would chase after him no matter what. Therefore, Lu Ming wouldn't be threatened by them. Instead, they would be led by him. Xia was also a golden-winged person. His entire body emitted a golden light as his wings flapped rapidly. His speed was shocking as he chased after Lu Ming like a phantom. 8th level Divine Monarch Xia chased after him with all his strength. Naturally, his aura spread out. This was an 8th level Divine Monarch. Lu Ming didn't dare to be careless. An 8th level Divine Lord was much stronger than a 7th level Divine Lord. At the same time, Lu Ming also sensed the auras of other monstrous geniuses. There were a total of 9 people chasing after him. Among them, there was one whose aura was the same as Xia, also being an 8th level Divine Lord. The other 7 were all 7th level Divine Lords. The 9 monstrous sky prides unleashed their maximum speed and chased after Lu Ming. Especially Xia and the other 8th level Divine Lord youth, their speed was the fastest, closing the distance with Lu Ming at lightning speed. Brat, you can't run! Winged Evil roared savagely. Really? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Beneath his feet, the Wind Destroyer boots appeared. With the Wind Destroyer boots on his feet, his speed skyrocketed. At the same time, Lu Ming vibrated his muscles and bones. A surge of energy gushed out from every cell of his body, propelling him forward. All of a sudden, Lu Ming's speed skyrocketed, surpassing Xia and the other 8th level Divine Lord youth. The distance between them was widening. Damn it! Xia roared angrily, killing intent surging to the sky as he chased after Lu Ming with all his might. His cultivation is only 3rd level Divine Lord. Even if his speed is fast, he can't last for long either, the other youth said. They did not give up and kept following behind Lu Ming. Very soon, Lu Ming brought Xia and the rest and was about to arrive at the place where Ao Yan and the rest were lying in ambush. Only 2 8th level Divine Lords. The rest are 7th level Divine Lords. I can fight. Lu Ming's mind whirled rapidly. Presently, Ao Qing and Ao Guan had both successfully broken through to 5th level Divine Lord. Their combat strength skyrocketed, enough to kill a prodigy like the 2-headed wolf race back then. And Ao Yan's cultivation was also about to break through to 6th level Divine Lord. Her strength was even more astonishing, enough to battle 8th level Divine Lord monstrous geniuses. And Lu Ming already completely grasped the taboo power. His combat strength also skyrocketed. He was confident that he could defeat that Xia. Therefore, facing these people, they could fight. If they ambushed, they might be able to take down the other party. Hence, Lu Ming immediately transmitted to Ao Yan, Ao Guan, and Ao Qing 3 people, telling them that they could take action. After Lu Ming lured the people to their ambush place, they could take action and ambush. Ao Yan 3 people responded very quickly. After planning it out, Lu Ming flew toward the place where Ao Yan 3 people were lying in ambush. Lu Ming flew past the mountain peak where Ao Yan 3 people were lying in ambush. Immediately after, Xia, as well as that 8th level Divine Lord youth also flew over. Ao Yan 3 people did not take action. They were waiting for those 7th level Divine Lord monstrous geniuses. Several breaths, the 7th level Divine Lord monstrous geniuses flew above the heads of Ao Yan and the rest. Do it! At this time, Ao Yan 3 people made their move. They transformed into dragon forms, 9 claws stepping on the air, pouncing out like lightning, their speed swift to the extreme. One person dealing with one. Ao Yan 3 people, each one's combat strength was above the other party's. Plus, it was a sneak attack. A moment of carelessness, and the other party was directly hit. Ah! Ah! 3 consecutive miserable screams. 3 of the youths had their bodies torn apart by Ao Yan 3 people. Dragon roars shook the sky. Their souls were annihilated. 3 7th level Divine Lord monstrous geniuses directly perished. Not good, there's an ambush. How many of them are there? Suddenly suffering an ambush, the other party's heart was somewhat flustered. He roared repeatedly and even hurriedly stopped, sweeping the surroundings with some alarm and fear. "I'll leave the remaining few to you guys to deal with," Ao Yen warned Ao Guan and Ao Qing. Her body twisted, pouncing toward the two 8th-level Divine Lord existences in front. At the same time, Lu Ming's rapidly flying body suddenly stopped. He retreated, charging toward Ixia. Boom! A punch punched out. The void trembled. Fist force surged wildly, crushing toward Ixia. Courting death! Ixia was not alarmed but delighted instead. What he was afraid of was not Lu Ming taking action. What he was afraid of was that Lu Ming would not take action. Taking action was exactly what he wanted. Golden light flourished from his body. His fingers curled like an eagle's claw, grabbing at Lu Ming. "Break for me!" Ixia's eyes were sinister, and a cold smile appeared on his face. He wanted to crush Lu Ming's fist with his claw. He could already hear Lu Ming's miserable shriek. A moment later. Boom! Their attacks fiercely collided. It was like heavenly thunder rumbling, shaking the void. Then, Ixia's expression changed drastically. He clearly heard the sound of bones breaking. Then, waves of intense pain came from his claw. Shwa! Ixia's body retreated explosively. His claws were already completely deformed. 5 of his fingers were already broken. How is this possible? Ixia found it hard to believe. He was very clear just how hard his claw was. Even if it was a peak monarch-grade divine weapon, he could crush it with a single claw. But when he grabbed Lu Ming's fist, not only did he fail to crush Lu Ming's fist, but Lu Ming's berserk strength had broken his fingers instead. His arm was trembling slightly. Even his arm had nearly broken. How can a 3rd-level Divine Lord be so powerful? That's right, it must be the function of that mysterious energy. Ixia's thoughts rapidly turned, and he thought of that taboo energy. Of course, he didn't know that that energy was called taboo energy. That was because the Heavenly Palace hadn't made it public. Chapter 3677. Winged Evil was envious to death. "I'm going to slaughter this brat, and strip away that wisp of power within his body," Winged Evil roared, his killing intent even colder. But he had yet to make a move when Lu Ming already rushed over toward him. Lu Ming took a step out, his figure rushing toward Winged Evil explosively, both fists blasting out continuously. In an instant, there were over 100 fist seals crushing toward Winged Evil. At the same time, Ao Yen already charged over, clashing with another 8th-level Divine Lord youth. While Ao Guan and Ao Qing, 2 people, were in a fierce battle with the remaining 4 7th-level Divine Lord existences. "Kill!" Winged Evil roared, erupting with full power, casting his source secret art, fusing with his wings. His pair of wings were like 2 divine blades, cutting through the void, slashing toward Lu Ming. Dang! 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 In an instant, Lu Ming's fist collided with Winged Evil's wings several dozen times in succession. In the end, Lu Ming was a notch stronger. Every one of his cells was fused with taboo power, indestructible, with boundless strength, beating Winged Evil until he repeatedly retreated. How is this possible? Some people roared angrily, seriously incomparably shocked. Lu Ming looked like he was just a 3rd-level Divine Lord. His combat strength was actually powerful to such an extent. It must be that wisp of power, it must be! Some people's hearts burned even more fervently, wishing that they could take Lu Ming's power for themselves. However, Lu Ming naturally would not give him such a chance. His attacks were like a storm, continuously charging toward Winged Evil. The Winged Men race was ranked 130 on the Great Desolate 10,000 Races list. Their bloodline talent was even inferior to the top 100 races. Although he had 8th-level Divine Lord cultivation, it was not that kind of especially heaven-defying. They were not like Lu Ming, who was a freak who could ignore the talents of different races. Hence, he was suppressed by Lu Ming for a moment. After the 2 people exchanged over 100 moves, some people felt intense pain in their palms and wings, the bones on them being cracked. In a head-on confrontation, he was not Lu Ming's match. Damn it! Winged Evil roared loudly in his heart, giving rise to thoughts of retreating. But how could Lu Ming allow him to retreat? Kill! Lu Ming let out a long howl. The hegemon's spear appeared in his right hand, while his left hand grabbed the sovereign's gate. He swung it wildly at Wraith. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, the tyrant god's spear and the gate of gods did not pose much of a threat to Winged Evil. However, it was different when Lu Ming held it in his hands. Every strike contained the power of a taboo. Boundless power was applied to the Overlord God's spear and the gate of domination. It was even stronger than Lu Ming's bare hands. Yi Xia was even less of a match. After a few moves, Yi Xia's arm broke and exploded with a bang. Blood and flesh flew everywhere. His pair of golden wings were also cracked, and golden feathers were flying everywhere. Winged Evil frantically retreated, wanting to avoid the attack. However, due to his injuries, especially his golden wings, his speed was greatly reduced. Lu Ming seized the opportunity and pierced his body with his spear. The tyrant god's spear vibrated, forming a terrifying shockwave that attacked Yi Xia's body. Bang bang bang. Yi Xia's body constantly emitted explosive sounds. This time, Yi Xia was heavily injured. Save me! Quickly save me! Yi Xia roared at the others. The other 8th level Divine Lord Youth was incomparably powerful. He was from one of the top 100 races of the Primordial Wasteland's 10,000 races. He was also an 8th level Divine Lord, but his strength was above Yi Xia's. Ao Yen was actually not his match. However, how could Ao Yen allow him to save Yi Xia? Ao Yen used her full strength, not caring about whether or not she would be injured. She crazily charged at him, firmly entangling him. That made it difficult for him to help for a moment. As for Lu Ming's attacks, they were even more berserk. Yi Xia retreated, but Lu Ming raised the Gate of Gods and smashed it down, smashing it into Yi Xia. Yi Xia let out a miserable cry as he was sent flying. Half his body exploded. I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming took a step forward and arrived beside Yi Xia. The tyrant god's spear was as large as a mountain. No, my winged race's big shot is outside. You can't kill me! Yi Xia roared in terror. I don't even care about the Lord of Heaven in the Heavenly Palace. Why would I care about a birdman? Die for me! Lu Ming shouted coldly, his attacks not stopping. This time, Yi Xia was no longer able to resist. When the tyrant god's spear smashed down, Yi Xia's body exploded, his body and soul annihilated. He completely perished. The winged race had another monstrous heavenly genius die at Lu Ming's hands. After killing Yi Xia, Lu Ming's gaze swept over the battlefield. Ao Guan and Ao Qing were both 5th level divine lords. Their combat power was powerful. Facing 4 7th level divine lords, they already occupied the upper hand. However, Ao Yen was at a disadvantage. Lu Ming directly charged at Ao Yen, planning on helping Ao Yen kill that 8th level Divine Lord Youth first. When that 8th level Divine Lord Youth saw Lu Ming charge over, his expression changed. Lu Ming killing Yi Xia just now, he had seen it with his own eyes. His strength was shockingly powerful. Although his own combat power was above Yi Xia's, he still could not kill Yi Xia. For Lu Ming to be able to kill Yi Xia, his combat power was above his. Adding in the Ao Yen whose strength was not weak, the two of them joining hands to attack him. Everything pointed to disaster. Also, the other 4 heavenly geniuses were also at a disadvantage. If this continued, they would be completely annihilated. Retreat! The 8th level Divine Lord Youth made his decision. Then, he fiercely attacked with a move, attacking Ao Yen. Ao Yen was originally at a disadvantage, being continuously pushed back by the other party's full power attack. Taking advantage of this opportunity, that 8th level Divine Lord Youth's figure rapidly retreated. Don't think of leaving! Lu Ming rushed over and threw the tyrant god's spear out. Swoosh! The tyrant god's spear was like a bolt of lightning, attacking the other party. But it was blocked by the other party. Furthermore, The other party even borrowed the tyrant god's spear's power to retreat at an even faster speed. Lu Ming rapidly followed, not wanting to let the other party off. The two people, one chasing and one fleeing, traveled 100 miles in an instant. An exalted 8th-level Divine Lord being chased around by a 3rd-level Divine Lord person, truly embarrassing enough. Right at this time, a mocking voice came from not far away. This voice was very clearly aimed at that 8th-level Divine Lord youth. Lu Ming's gaze swept over and discovered that a youth appeared not far away. This youth was dressed in alternating black and white robes. His face was like jade, and he was very handsome, looking virtually the same as a human. "It's you!" When the 8th-level Divine Lord youth saw the black-robed youth, his expression changed, seemingly very wary. But instinctively he heaved a sigh of relief. Instead, he flew toward the black-robed youth, landing beside the other party. Lu Ming also stopped in his tracks and squinted his eyes. This was because he instinctively sensed danger from this young man. After Lu Ming stopped, Ao Yen also rushed over, stopping beside Lu Ming. "Yin Yang Xiangyu, why are you here?" The 8th-level Divine Lord youth asked, his tone very solemn, even reverent. "I just happened to be nearby and saw you all provoking Lu Ming here, so I came to take a look. Looks like I didn't come too late," Yin Yang Xiangyu said, not looking at the other party from start to finish. His gaze had always landed on Lu Ming. Chapter 3678. Yin Yang Xiangyu's gaze landed on Lu Ming, his eyes burning with deep greed. To him, Lu Ming represented the position of Son of Heaven, represented a limitless future. "Since I'm here, leave them to me." Yin Yang Xiangyu opened his mouth and then took a step out. Boom! A powerful aura surged to the sky. 7th-level Divine Lord. The moment Yin Yang Xiangyu's aura erupted, Lu Ming and Ao Yen sensed that the other party's cultivation was a 7th-level Divine Lord. However, Lu Ming and Ao Yen did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. That 8th-level Divine Lord youth was clearly very respectful of Yin Yang Xiangyu. Clearly, the other party's strength could not be judged by cultivation. This time, many monstrous geniuses entered. It was possible to encounter any kind of person. Even if they encountered someone who could fight with them at the same level, it was also not impossible. Swish! Suddenly, Yin Yang Xiangyu moved. His figure flashed, and in the next instant, he appeared in front of Lu Ming and Ao Yen. A snow-white longsword appeared in his hand, and he slashed at Lu Ming and Ao Yen. After slashing out, the sword light split into two, slashing at Lu Ming and Ao Yen respectively. "Divine Dragon Slash!" Ao Yen shouted coldly. The dragon horn on her head was shining, bursting forth with a resplendent divine light, slashing at the other party. As for Lu Ming, he brandished the tyrant god's spear, blasting it at the other party. Boom! Boom! 2 consecutive booms came over. Lu Ming felt an incomparably powerful force surge toward him. His body trembled slightly, and he involuntarily retreated 2 steps. Ao Yen was the same, her 9 dragon claws retreating a few steps. What powerful strength! Lu Ming was shocked in his heart. Just one move, and Lu Ming knew that he had encountered a terrifying monster. This Yin Yang Xiangyu's combat strength was shockingly strong. Although his cultivation was only at the 7th-level Divine Lord realm, his combat strength was much stronger than that 8th-level Divine Lord youth. The tyrant god's spear in Lu Ming's hand was constantly vibrating. A crack even appeared on it. "To be able to block one of my moves, you have some strength. Looks like if I don't use my true strength, I won't be able to take you down in a short time." Yin Yang Xiangyu was slightly surprised. He was surprised that Lu Ming and his companion were able to block his attack. In the next instant, a sword also appeared in his left hand. It was a pitch-black longsword, the complete opposite of the snow-white longsword in his right hand. Boom! His aura became even more violent. 2 types of divine power circulated around him. One was black, the other was white. They intertwined and intertwined with each other. 2 types of God force, an ancient cultivation technique. No, that's yin and yang energy. He's a genius from the yin-yang race. Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. He immediately. The yin-yang race was one of the top races in the primitive universe. It ranked 16th on the primitive 10,000 races list. Any race that could be listed on the primitive 10,000 races list was definitely a big race. They were the overlords of the primitive universe, let alone the 16th place. It was said that the yin-yang race was born with the ability to control both yin and yang divine powers. They were much stronger than others. Moreover, the yin-yang divine powers could give birth to special origin secret arts with astonishing offensive power. Any member of the yin-yang race could easily crush those weaker races at the same level. Moreover, Yin-Yang Xiangyu was a genius of the yin-yang race. His strength was even more terrifying. Yin-Yang kill! Yin-Yang Xiangyu's cold voice came from his mouth. Then, he slashed out with his black and white swords. Sword light burst out like a storm, sweeping toward Lu Ming and Ao Yen. Block! Lu Ming roared. He put away the Gate of Gods and the Tyrant God's spear and focused on controlling his forbidden power. Every cell in his body emitted a burst of power. This power gathered on Lu Ming's fists. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming punched out with both fists. In an instant, he had sent out hundreds of punches. Hundreds of punches shot toward the black and white swords. At the same time, Ao Yen also unleashed her full power. Her dragon claws stepped on the air, unleashing a terrifying attack. A huge explosion occurred in the air. Divine light soared into the sky. In just a few breaths' time, two figures were crazily retreating. They were Lu Ming and Ao Yen. The two of them retreated over 10,000 miles before stopping. Both of them had new sword wounds on their bodies. Ao Yan's scales had been cut open, and there were at least a dozen sword wounds on her body. Blood was flowing. Her injuries were very serious. As for Lu Ming, he wasn't much better off. He also had over a dozen sword wounds that had almost cut him to pieces. But what surprised Lu Ming was that his injuries were rapidly healing. Even his opponent's yin-yang divine powers couldn't stop his wounds from healing. The forbidden power didn't just have powerful offensive power, it also had powerful recovery abilities. What power? Lu Ming's expression was incomparably grave. This yin-yang soaring universe was too strong. Even if Lu Ming and Ao Yen joined forces, they were still not the other party's match. If they were fighting on the same level, Lu Ming had full confidence that he could easily suppress the other party. But when the other party's cultivation was several levels higher, their strength completely crushed him. This is troublesome. Looks like I really can't underestimate the heroes of the world. Lu Ming sighed softly in his heart. Some time ago, Lu Ming and them had taken action several times. Those 7th-level Divine Lord monstrous geniuses were all easily killed by them. This made Lu Ming and them somewhat overconfident, somewhat underestimating the various races' heavenly geniuses. Previously, it was just that they hadn't encountered overly terrifying monstrous geniuses. But that didn't mean that there weren't any. Swish! Yin-Yang Soaring Universe's figure flashed, continuing to charge toward Lu Ming and Ao Yen. Surging swordlight swept toward the two of them. Its speed was extremely shocking, covering tens of thousands of miles. Lu Ming and Ao Yen joined forces. But after exchanging blows, their injuries became even more severe. Lu Ming was still fine. His recovery ability was astonishing, but Ao Yan's aura was weak. If this continued, she wouldn't be far from death. Ha ha, this Lu Ming and the 9-clawed dragon are dead for sure. Unfortunately, I didn't kill them. That 8th-level Divine Lord Youth laughed and sighed. But unfortunately, he wasn't the one who killed them, so the reward wouldn't go to him. He glanced enviously at Yin-Yang Soaring Universe. Then his gaze turned to Ao Guan and Ao Qing, revealing a greedy gaze. Ao Guan and Ao Qing were also 9-clawed dragons. Although he couldn't kill Lu Ming and become the son of heaven, killing the 9-clawed dragon would also give him a great reward. He immediately charged toward Ao Guan and Ao Qing. With this person joining in, Ao Guan and Ao Qing also fell into a disadvantage. This situation was very passive for Lu Ming and the others. They had fallen into a dangerous situation. Let's see how many of my moves you can block. Today's outcome is already decided. Lu Ming, I will trample over you to reach the peak and become the son of heaven. Yin Yang soaring universe was in high spirits. Yin Yang divine energy revolved around him, and his sword intense soared. He seemed to have transformed into two black sword lights that tore through the air. His speed was astonishing, and he instantly arrived in front of the two of them. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.